All right, hello and welcome to Adventures in Lollygagging. We are playing Trophy Dark tonight. We're taking a break, a 1 week break from our Delta Green campaign to do a different kind of horror. Delta Green, the game we've been playing, is like psychological horror. This is more fantastical horror, as we are playing a narrative game. It is by. Let me drop the link in chat for those of you who might be in chat. But you can kind of get a couple different links there, including where you can find this game. It's designed by, I have wrote the name down a second ago. Where'd it go? Wow. So yeah, it's created by Jesse Ross. This comes from the Gauntlet gaming community. You can see a link in the chat that goes directly to Trophy RPG. You can also hit the itch.io, the incursion, which is what they kind of call adventures in this system. You can see that as well. That's by Michael Van Vliet. I dropped that signalstation.itch.io in there if you want to see this specific incursion. Other than the players, none of you should do that because that would make you an awful person. Let's see. Other things we do here on the channel, we play a lot of different games on Mondays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Fridays tends to be our Delta Green game, but today we're doing something a little different. Saturday, tomorrow, we'll be playing Worlds Without Number. And this coming Monday, we are continuing our Alien RPG campaign, our Sinners of Heaven, in Chapter 3 with our Marines, some with 2 arms, some with 1. Yeah, and you can catch our YouTube channel for our most recent game that we just started up this week, Ultraviolet Grasslands. You can see our Session 0 where we made a bunch of weird, bizarro, gonzo characters. And so we'll be starting up the... Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Chuck is a potted plant / ghost / snot bubble. It's very strange. I don't know what it is. But yeah, but you can catch that out. You can catch that over on YouTube now if you're curious. And then we'll be back with Session 1 of that in like a week or week and a half. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna dive in really fast. We've already done character creation. We're gonna try to get the whole thing done tonight. This is our first time playing it, so bear with us as we feel out the rules a bit. Yeah, I'm gonna have everyone just introduce who you are, like say who you are in real life, what you're playing. Like, who did you roll? I think a lot of you ended up doing a lot of random rolling for your characters and then maybe mixing in a couple of picks here and there. No big deal. So you get a background, an occupation, a drive, and maybe a couple skills that you grabbed from your random roll of background and occupation. So Ashley, this is what you get for having the name Ashley. You come first.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. So who are you playing?
Who are you?
Who are you?
I am playing Mahara. She's a demonologist. I did pick my background of a lost child because why wouldn't I pick to be an orphan, Jeff? But I have some fun skills.
That's dangerous. You know how orphans don't fare well, sadly, on some of the streams that we've been in lately, but I like it.
Which fits well with this game. But I have skills with demons, negotiation, trickery, and hiding. So pretty cool.
But what about your character, Ashley? What skills does your character have?
Those are her skills. Ashley's IRL skills is just actually being possessed.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
You know.
All right, we'll dive into a couple. I mean, we'll learn more about your character as we play. Obviously, part of the game is going to be delving into their psychology and kind of their story and stuff like that. Their tragedy that this hopefully will entail. Let's move it on over. Long, what's up? Who are you?
I am Long. I'm playing Basso. I am currently a smuggler. Used to be a squire, but I've been abandoned
by your knight that you were squiring. Yeah. Do you know why? I'm just curious. Do you have an idea of why you were abandoned? Like, was your knight killed?
Yeah, I was thinking along those lines. Not by choice. He's gone missing. He's maybe felt the pull of his force. Maybe he's in here too.
Is that why you're here?
I could kiss you. I could kiss you for that. That was beautiful.
Just smooch him.
Knight missing in forest ? Oh my god, my handwriting's terrible. Okay, I like that. That sounds really good. Bottom row, new face but a familiar name. hangs out in chat across our games and over on Defenders of Cobalt as well. John, how's it going, man?
Hi, it's going fairly well. This is where I do the plug, right?
Yeah, now's good.
Okay.
Who are you? Who are you playing? What you want to plug? Anything
okay.
like that's good.
Hi, I'm John, also known as Captain Crime, the guy who kibitzes in the chat. And also apparently the only reason at least one party is alive. But
That's fair.
Yes. But I would like to plug tonight my friend Terry Hale's comic, Data Chasers, which can be found at datachasers.thecomicseries.net. I think it's .net, not. It's sorry, .com. Apologies.
Okay, I'll see if I can find it while you just talk a little bit about the character you rolled.
And I will be playing Nehen. He's a guide. Turned to that after he escaped a long history as an oppressed laborer.
What are your skills?
He has skills in foraging, hunting, and in paths. He has a background in rebellion too.
Background in rebellion.
It's the skill that being an oppressed laborer gets you.
I like it.
But
okay, so oppressed laborer, and I'm sorry, I think I missed the occupation. What was the occupation? It was a
guide.
Forager? Oh, guide.
Guide.
Okay, guide. All right. So we've got a demonologist. We've got a forager is what Basso was, right? Why do I have forager in my head?
I'm a smuggler.
No, you're a forager now.
Right,
So, and then finally, Melissa, who are you?
So I am playing Sarah. You'll hear about 30 seconds of an accent, and that'll probably be it for the night. So she is a bodyguard with skills of protection, speed, and vigilance. Her background is that she was an opportunistic grave robber, and the skill that goes along with that is death. So that's my skill.
I like it. That's a really good skill to have.
Not sure
it's
what I do with that
it's
skill.
definitely gonna come into play at least once. That's for sure.
Yeah.
At least once.
But then maybe I don't die because I'm good at it. So
that just doesn't seem to line up with our
Or
intentions for tonight.
Maybe you're really good at killing things. Opposite.
These are possibilities. Yeah, you need an accent. I think transatlantic works.
I'm not in that mindset.
Let's do the transatlantic accent.
Can you get me there? Like,
I don't know, Dollface. Maybe you can. Maybe we'll get there. No problem. I'm a demonologist.
that's gonna be Jeff. Like,
Coming into this forest here. Winds coming partially out of the east. Rain, 40% chance.
I think a Little Lavinia.
Little Lavinia.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't done that in forever.
Yep. Oh gosh, I really want to just we gotta play that
will
one game
bust
just so I
out.
can do transatlantic. I just want to do transatlantic all night.
Yes.
What
Okay.
game?
We were talking about doing They Came From Beneath the Sea by oh man, I'm blanking. But They Came From Beneath the Sea, it's basically like 1950s, 1940s, 60s, like the kind of old school Onyx Path Publishing. By and it's sort of like old school sci-fi, and so I figure because we only play that instead of this, we were like, this one's a little lighter and easier to turn around. And so if when we do play, because we will, it's just a question of when. We're doing transatlantic accents the whole time. All right, fish face.
I can't.
I'm gonna punch you right in the jaw.
I can't do a transatlantic accent to save my life.
It's
I can do a passing Cockney there.
Oh god, that was a little Australian there going on there. I like it.
Cockney. Less educated than Australia.
There we go. Okay. So let's dive in, shall we? To Trophy Dark. We are playing specifically an incursion called A Warm and Pleasant Hum. This is one that involves... Oh, I went out of focus. This is one that's going to involve bees. Yeah, I really like bees. When I was a kid, my next door neighbor across the street was a beekeeper, and we used to get free honey all the time. I've loved bees all my life. I think they're great. They're awesome. And now I'm going to murder all of you with them. So it's about right for the arc of this story. So,
Circle of life.
yeah. All right. Again, first time playing. Don't yell at us. We ready? We good? All right, let me get a little music. Let's get some mood music going. Let's do a little.
Meanwhile, you're being called out in chat for stealing the hard work of the bees.
What? Bees didn't think it was free. You might have a point there. But they're dead now, all of them.
Oh, jeez.
Well, they are. They don't live that long. I'm very old. When I was a kid, that was many years ago. So those of you in the chat, if let us know how the sound's coming through. If it's coming through too loud, too quiet, just let me know. Undead bees seek revenge. Yeah, if I get swarmed suddenly in my room halfway through the stream, you know why. They are alive and they're very upset. Okay. So this is a fantasy horror game. So just imagine kind of a fantasy horror setting in the sense that they're carrying, they're wearing leather boots, they're wearing basic rucksacks and packs, and kind of wandering everywhere on foot, etc. We are desperate treasure hunters, not heroes, not necessarily good people, not necessarily bad people, but desperate, and they have drives that are pushing them into these dangerous places of the world, these dangerous environments that don't want them there. And if they, they're going to push in there anyway because each one of them has a drive, has a purpose, has a goal, whether it's something they rolled or something that they just kind of come up with, like Long was doing with his knight background, his squire background, something that's kind of pushing them into this place to brave the dangers. So each one of these incursions starts with some kind of introduction. Sometimes it's just prose or poem or something like that. So I'm just going to read it exactly as it's written here. The human world has room for many monarchs, but the Hummingwoods has only one queen. This six-legged mother of millions dines exclusively on an elixir said to cure any ill or even extend one's life, a royal jelly of matchless quality. Few dare attempt to steal any jelly, protected as it is by the swarms that live in her remote hive, the six-form heart. But what if one had grander dreams than that of a waxed sack containing purloin jelly? If one can claim the queen, one can control her enormous six-legged family and the wealth their industry represents. But the denizens of the six-form heart have a loyalty that is pheromone-fueled and absolute, and the venomous means to protect their home and monarch. So we begin our adventure, or our incursion, at the tree line to the Hummingwoods. It's late summer, early autumn. Autumnal colors decorate the various trees. Leaves are of orange and yellow and brown, fading green. It's still somewhat warm. It's not yet cool. So you're all either approaching or at the edge of it. I want one of you to tell me, this is what's going to happen a lot tonight, what's a rumor you've heard about the Hummingwoods, or something you know about the Hummingwoods? Anyone at all? I can call on people instead.
God, no.
But we're told in education that's not a good thing anymore. Putting people on the spot.
I'll just go with the obvious. Children shouldn't play there or they go missing.
Children go missing. Okay. So, was there maybe a particular child from your village or wherever you live that is sort of served as the example of this? It's like a name to associate. You don't want to turn out like this person.
You don't want to turn out like little Lavinia.
You don't want to go down that route. That
There you
route's
go.
the Hummingwoods.
We have a name.
Okay, little Lavinia. Poor little Lavinia.
Poor little Lavinia.
Okay. So Sarah, as you're standing here at the edge of these Hummingwoods, and you've got little Lavinia on the brain, how were you perhaps connected to Lavinia?
I was the. Okay, so my background is opportunistic grave robber.
Uh-huh.
So I'm actually going to say that at some point in my grave robbing times, I grave robbed little Lavinia's grave.
Okay. And it was probably an empty grave because they go missing, right? And so maybe there was just some kind of effigy, some placeholder. Very sad.
And there were like, is that like the family had buried some valuable things
Okay.
for some kind of closure, and those were valuable to me
Okay. What's one of those things that you're still carrying?
that I'm still carrying on me now.
Yeah, that you still have on something that you might still have in your pack.
I'm going to. If anybody has any ideas, let me know. I'm trying to think.
Yeah,
of
everybody could hop in. By the way, this is we're
Okay.
all collective, collaborative storytellers. I just kind of organize it all.
You've got a
And
morning
chat,
locket.
always feel free to throw in ideas.
One of those ones made of her hair.
What is it?
A morning locket.
Okay. So Sarah, you are standing then right at the edge of this forest, getting ready to go inside. You've got this morning locket, this little locket of hair that you still have around your neck. So the camera kind of zooms in briefly. It starts panning out. What does Sarah look like?
So Sarah is quite tall, built fairly thickly, muscular, and looks to be fairly no nonsense. I would say,
Okay.
like resting bitch face.
All right. So everybody has heard the stories, I would say, to some degree, of the humming woods, the children that go missing, the mother of millions, the six-formed heart, the desire to find the royal jelly. Some of you, however, probably have a sense of narcissism or confidence about you that, like, it doesn't matter that children have gone missing. It doesn't matter that others have gone here and perhaps failed to do what you now intend to do. Who here feels like their character is like particularly prepared? Like they're ready. They've heard enough stories about this place to be prepared. Anybody want to take that claim? Like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like this is going to be easy. It's a smash and grab job. No problem.
Yeah, I think I've heard a lot of it because of my school wire position.
Okay.
I did a little bit of research.
Okay. And what's one maybe piece of equipment you've brought with you that you think is that you're confident will help you at some point? Like something that's specific for these woods, not just any woods, but the humming woods.
I brought this specific spray that'll help with a certain rash that appears if you encounter
Okay.
maybe like some moss or something.
Okay. So as the camera then pans over from Sarah as she just sort of almost maybe nonchalantly just grabs the locket, we pan over and it catches ever so slightly like this sort of leather small pouch that's hanging from maybe a string of your pack, Basso. And as we pan out, what does Basso look like?
Yeah, Basso's kind of a short feller. He's got a yellow leather vest. His hair is quite rugged. Hasn't cut it in a while. And,
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. Short, hair rugged. Okay. All right. So the main treasure like to be had in the woods here is this royal jelly, right? But there's also like in your minds, the back of all your minds, there's this idea of if we could get the queen, if we could control the industry, we could produce this jelly, we could sell it, we could become rich to some degree. So Mahera, what would your life, or how would your life change if you could like actually get and pierce this heart of the Humming Woods and return in triumph? Like, how would your life change?
Mahara is fueled by vengeance. She wants to take down a High Lord or
Okay.
a Lord Halfier.
Okay.
So it would help her fund basically her rebellion.
Okay. What was the name again? Lord Halfier?
Yeah, Haffir.
Okay. I'm probably gonna get that wrong later. Okay.
Fine. I rolled it.
Okay. And finally, Nehen, we're gonna say maybe you've had because this is sort of default. Have you perhaps had a relative or a friend or an acquaintance maybe that has traveled here?
Barrow is a decent man. One of the few to go in and leave alive. Of course, sane is another matter entirely. There are many paths in, only one path out.
So as you're standing there next to Mahera, what do we see when we look at Nehen? What does he look like?
Nehen, hold on, let me. Nehen, he's weather-beaten, scarred. He has a big brand down the left side of his face. That's from his time back when he was functionally a slave as a serf.
Okay.
He's tall and broad-shouldered.
And he's standing next to Mahera, and I realize I never asked Ashley to describe. So what does Mahera looks like? Is she dwarfed by the tall Nehen?
Yeah,
she...
she's very slight, I guess you could say. She's short. She's very thin because she scrimps and saves all of her money to put towards it, so she's not really eating for herself. And she stays indoors, so her skin's kind of translucent like.
Oh, God.
You said you were an orphan?
Huh?
You said you were an orphan?
Yes. Previously, I was an orphan.
So how old are you now?
I would say I am 14. So still technically an orphan.
Don't think that just because you made them 14, I'm not gonna
Oh no, that's fine.
run
Teeth was
crazy
9.
bee swarms.
Plot
Wait.
armor.
Wait, Teeth was? Did Teeth die?
No, Teeth still lives.
Oh, thank God.
She's fishing lamprey.
Okay.
Some say she's still fishing today.
Some say she's still
I was worried
fishing
about
today.
the past tense there.
So as you're standing here, all of you at the edge, and you all know each other to varying degrees, it's fine. You feel kind of a warm breeze shuffle out from between the branches and the trunks of the trees themselves. It's you actually feel like heat. You're sweating more than you probably realize, to the point where you start to shed some of your outer layers, your jackets or jerkins. And as you're doing so, you hear the sound of like shouting coming from just down the tree line. You're like, no, get it right now. And you watch, bursting from the tree line, you see a horse just running blindly. Its eyes kind of covered with something. You see something kind of pouring down the sides of its face. And you see these 4 individuals, each of whom are like in various pursuit. Like some are very close and kind of clinging to like the bridle of this horse and just kind of flopping around on the ground. Others just running and dropping and falling. All of them are wearing these sort of loose like cloth robes / like jerkins, and they have this strange netting over top of their faces. You see one of them as they just pull off into the distance, maybe about 30 to 40 feet away, as this horse is just running wildly around, kicking left and right. And you can see at one point it just ever so slightly, the rear hind legs of the horse nearly takes the head off of one of these poor individuals. Those that are trailing a little bit more further are looking around, and they see the four of you as you're kind of getting your packs and stuff situated, and they're like, "Help us, please! Help us! Help us get the horse! Help us!" What do you all do?
I'm gonna jump to the side in a bush. Make sure I don't get run over.
Okay. That's easy enough to do.
Nehen knows animals. He usually knows them down the sides of a crossbow, but he knows them. So, he's going to attempt to calm the horse, and failing that, otherwise prevented from doing harm.
Okay. So we get to our first roll of the night, it sounds like. So,
Yep.
Awesome. So in this game, there's what's called a risk roll. Sort of the primary resolution mechanic whenever somebody desires to do something that might have a risk of failure. With Long, he's just jumping into a bush. It's probably easy enough. No real failure there. But with Nehen here, so basically you're desiring to calm the horse down and make sure nobody gets harmed. And so that's your hope. So what we do then is we make a dice pool. So do you have first thing I'll ask you is, do you have a skill that might apply here?
Both hunting and paths could apply, thinking about, paths traveling with a horse, a mount, etc., and hunting in that this is an animal. And my theory is that if I roll with success with complication, he can't calm the animal and has to
Sure.
apply hand axe instead.
So you've got one die from your skill. I'll say, and then we can then we have what's called a devil's bargain. Any of us can kind of present. And so this could be the case of if you can get an extra die if you were to accept somebody else's complication. It could be if you're trying to calm the horse. Perhaps this could mean like getting involved with some of these other individuals who are also trying to like calm them, and so it's possible that you guys could like bump into each other, or you could do something a little bit more complex than that. But the idea of there just being too much around you. So if you wanted to take a devil's bargain, we could come up with something like that. And I would say you're most definitely risking your body. So you would take a dark die. So right now you're at one light die and one dark die. And then it's up to us, the rest of us, if we can think of like a really good devil's bargain to offer Nehen here. Does anyone have an idea? Again, this is just something to complicate matters. And he doesn't have to accept it. It's just we can present it to him.
Okay, so you're trying to calm the horse.
Mm-hmm.
Devil's bargain. You successfully calm the horse, but you slip and maybe like hit your head or something. Like maybe it runs into like a muddy puddle. And it gets you underneath the horse, so there's the potential to be trampled a little bit.
So the devil's bargain doesn't give an automatic success. All it means is you get an extra die because of the added complication.
But it happens regardless of whether you succeed or not, right? Yeah.
Right.
So that's my idea. If anybody else has something different.
I'm going to
thinking
suggest...
about devil's bargaining something that might come later. So like the devil's bargain would be like you get this horse under control, but at some point later, a creature is going to make a movement that is going to be less than timely.
Oh,
okay.
That would be cool.
Again, I think though the devil's bargain is not again that's implying automatic success. Then like he gets this under control.
Okay.
Devil's bargain is again just a complication that adds an extra success. So I mean, like for me, I would say maybe in the process of trying to calm the creature down, maybe your pack gets caught up and ripped and torn.
Ooh,
and so no matter what, you now have a torn pack that you have to contend with for the rest of the journey.
Yeah.
So like kind of taking what Ashley said or what Mahara said with the idea of like you trip and you fall, but instead of it like physically harming you, because that's more what the die will do, the dark die might do. It's instead maybe harming your pack, and it's just something you have to deal with moving on. So I think together that is your devil's bargain. How's that sound? Do you want to take that?
Take it.
No, I don't think I will.
Okay.
Either of those sound quite interesting for fighting with a horse.
Okay.
Um,
So then roll 2d6s. The first die will be your dark die that we see, and the second will be the light die. You can,
Okay.
with Foundry, I'm not sure if you've used Dice Tray before, you can just hit the d6 button twice and then hit
Yep.
roll, and it'll roll.
I have.
Okay.
Come on. I just pressed enter on the wrong keyboard.
Okay.
Okay, so the 5 with the dark die.
Okay, so did you roll a dark die equal to or higher than the highest light die in your roll? Yes, you
Yes.
did.
Very much so.
Yeah, so go ahead, and what's going to happen is we're going to say, I think what we should say is you're going to take +1. You're going to succeed, but with complication. You're going to take +1 for your condition. I would say we kind of go towards what Ashley was saying then, and we say like you fall down into the mud and maybe you do bang your head. And so now you're suffering maybe for a while some concussion effects. So you're kind of getting a little woozy and trouble
like
concentrating.
Blurry vision a little bit.
Yeah,
was-
so you're
I was kind of thinking like if he failed to calm down the horse more normally, he'd have to kill the horse to keep it from hurting someone.
I think that's more the horse that's suffering the condition at that point and not
Good
you.
point. It's just, but dead horse is a very big complication. But anyhow, yeah,
Not
no,
to
me
Jeff.
suffering condition.
Yeah.
Oh,
Since
that's
this-
right.
Yeah.
You have a bad history with horses, don't you?
I have a dead horse tracker in one of my notes.
That's true. So, how's that sound? You want to do like concussion of some kind? Like you just kind of bang. You're going to be successful because you rolled a 5, so you got your 5. But like you're going to be successful in doing so. It's just you. So I think concussion for the condition, something like that.
Concussion.
Okay.
Okay. Do I also need to take a ruin?
Yeah. So whenever so it's the same thing. Whenever you take condition, you take +1 ruin. When you take +1 ruin, take condition. So same type of
Okay.
deal. Okay. So you're able. So as you grab the bridle and you bravely step in front of this thing to try to calm it down, you do, and it sort of stops and tramps around a bit. You see, it's just sort of wailing its head around, like saliva and snot just kind of hurling from it. It's at that point, even though you've calmed it down, Nehen, that you notice its face is just covered in stingers. Just nothing but like these broken off stingers that are just piercing various portions of its face, its eyes, its eyebrow. You can't even really see the eyes as they're just sort of covered in this waxy yellow. And maybe it's seeing that gives you a fright, and you step back for a moment, and that's when you fall down onto the ground, bang your head against a loose rock. And now you have this horse that's just antsy and certainly ready to move again. What are the rest of you doing? So Bazo, Sarah, Mahara.
Long already jumped into a bush, so he's not seeing what's going on.
You know, Long's right there. Basso jumps into the bush.
That's true. I think Sarah would have tried to go have a conversation with the humans that came out after the horse.
Okay. So you go over, and you can see that probably 2 of them have split off and are trying to chase down where Nehen has the horse settled to some degree. And the other 2 are kind of lingering behind, catching their breath. And you wander up. Do you say anything?
How fared your travels?
They kind of look over towards you, and you can see there's some tears here and there in their clothes. They seem a little dirty here and there. Our journey is our own business. Mind yours. And that one just kind of trudges off away from you, and you hear a voice. I'm very sorry about that one. He's a very ornery sort. He was riding the horse, you see, and then he fell off, and he almost broke his bum, it seems. And our travels, they've gone okay. Not great, not terrible. Pretty mature, to really make a judgment. We've barely traveled a mile into the forest before our horse just went crazy.
Sometimes it is better to travel by foot in making this journey.
I see. What interests do you have in the Hummingwood?
Oh, I actually didn't take offense to your friend over there. I think our own interests are our own, but we can share with each other ways to make this safe. There's enough for everyone.
So there's a quietness, and you can't see their face. Like there's like mesh netting like over their face. They almost look like, they got beekeeper apiarists type clothing on. And there's this long, like, exhale, like, I see. Is it just the three of you then?
There are 4 of us.
4. Oh. Is one hiding somewhere then?
More than likely, a charging animal can often send at least one individual for cover.
I see. Well, I will go recover our horse, and we shall be on our way. And then you see, like, you get this, again, this weird pause. And it's kind of unsettling not being able to see their face. Mahara, what are you doing?
Mahara's being a creepy child, and she's just like, as Sarah was walking up, she just kind of stood there, like, pointing at the horse and then looking at the people who are talking. And she just looks very grave as she's just pointing.
Okay. So, of the other 2 that went to chase after, where Nehen had managed to calm the horses down, Mahara, they're doing something suspicious. They're doing something that, like, makes you nervous or upsets you in some way, or that makes you want to point at them, perhaps. What is it they're doing? What is it they're doing?
They're quickly plucking out all of the stingers out of the horse's face, and they're trying to pocket them and hide them.
Okay. And Basso, are you popping up out of the bush yet?
Yeah, I can get out after the rampage is over.
Okay. And so one by one, you see Nehen as these people in these light cloth clothes and these kind of rounded hats, none of whom you can see their faces. One of them roughly walks over to you and grabs, like, rudely. I'll be taking that now. Hands off. And he just snatches the leather bridle, trying to pull it out of your hand, Nehen.
Could I, when that man tries to snatch it from Nan, can I come up? I want to grab his, like, apiary, like, helmet thing. I want to use, like, kind of like trickery, like children's, like, games kind of thing, and run up and just like I'm trying to make it a game and rip it off his head.
Okay. Sounds like a roll. Do you have a skill that applies?
Trickery?
Okay, oh yeah, for sure. Okay. I think that, so Devil's Bargain, they're big.
Okay.
The person you're going towards. We'll say that the Devil's Bargain is, this is my idea. The rest of you are always willing to, and able to do this as well. Is going to be something along the lines of this sudden movement of maybe you either snatching the hat if you're successful, or the retaliation if you're unsuccessful, is going to startle the horse.
Okay.
Okay. So you want to take it?
Yeah.
All right. So that's 2 light die. And I think 1 dark die, because I do think you're kind of risking going up to a fairly large man by a horse. So we'll say 2 light die and 1 dark. So roll 3d6, and the first d6 that shows up will be the dark die. We'll always treat the first D6s. Okay.
So my dark die is a 3. I did roll a 6 for
Mhm.
my white die. So that
So
is I succeed.
that is a succeed, 100%. So, so describe what happens when you walk up to this feller.
So Mahara, at first, she's just kind of pointing and she like tugs on Basso's shirt, like, hey, look at this. And then she kind of, and she just kind of like, she's good at hiding. So she ducks behind a barrel and then she leaps up behind this man and she grabs with both hands the like fabric that's like hanging down and she rips it off behind him. And then she takes off running back to Basso.
So as you do that, he was grabbing the bridle and trying to pull it away from Nehen at that point. He's going to whip around, and you see like his face is an old kind of weathered man, probably in his late 50s, early 60s. Hair has recessed. It's covered in sweat. Like his face is sweaty. His hair is sweaty. He's got a little bit of a mullet hanging down, but he's heavy receding hairline, kind of an angry looking face with the big bulbous nose and broken capillaries, like he's been drinking all his life. And he, as he's turning and he pulls on the bridle, you all hear the horse, because that's my horse sound, just rear back. Nehen, you like dive for cover, and the horse just reignites, throws the other apiaries who are plucking some of the stingers off their face, off to the side, and the horse bolts away from all of you. Mahara, you're running back towards Sarah and Basso, and you're just kind of skipping away. You don't even necessarily see this is what's happening, but Basso and Sarah, you watch as this horse just starts speeding and speeding and speeding. First 20 yards, then 30, then 50, and then you see it horrifically disappear over what looks like a ridge about 100 yards away.
Deeper into the wood or away from?
Away from the wood.
Look what I got. She's younger than 14 now.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah,
She's like 7.
She's
still
7.
Not going to phase me.
That's
no
fine.
problem.
You can make bugs burrow into my skin, Jeff. I'm fine.
They're already
Oh,
there,
boy.
actually. They're going to burrow out of your skin.
I'm gonna give birth at 9. Gross. Bugs.
Okay. So what are you all doing at this point, as there's now a big dude without a beekeeper hat chasing after Mahara? The horse has disappeared over the ridge, and the rest of the apiaries now are just kind of like a couple of them started chasing after the horse. One of them is trying to like calm down this big bald man who's chasing after your apparently 9-year-old treasure hunter demonologist. What are we thinking? What does everyone want to do in this situation?
Nehen standing up, concussed, pissed off. His work has just been undone in one fell swoop by combination of small psychotic child and asshole. Small psychotic child may not necessarily be the asshole. The asshole may have just had his hat ripped off.
Yeah.
Nehen's just going to stand up, look at the guy, and go, "Better get after your horse."
Is this the one chasing after Mahara?
Basically.
Okay. So that's the one who seems to be going after Mahara with something of a threatening posture, like he's gonna like throttle her to get his hat back. So is that the one that you're trying to kind of intimidate or intersperse yourself in some way?
I feel like in some way this might qualify under my skill of rebellion. But yeah, that guy. Yeah,
I'll take that. Sure. One skill, so we'll do one for that, and he is a big dude. So we're gonna put him at like 6'4".
Is he as big as Nehen though?
How you're probably comparable, maybe little off, but he's probably older. But nonetheless, even old man's strength, a haymaker might land at some point. So I will throw a dark die on this.
Okay.
We'll say, does anyone have an idea for a devil's bargain as he's trying to intersperse himself to protect Mahara? Does anyone can think of a way to add a complication but still give Nehen an extra die?
I mean, I've got strength, so I might be able to
That's the other thing, by the way. We haven't talked about that yet. If you wanted to help, there is an assist system. So if you want to do a help roll, what that means is that you would roll a light die. So you roll 1d6. We treat it as a light die. You describe how you help. You give it to Nehen, and he just takes the result. And that's it. However, if the die that you roll matches the same number as any of the dark die that Nehen rolls, you, Sarah, you would take the ruin
Instead of Nehen or in addition to Nehen?
instead of Nehen. The ruin for you is still the standard way of getting it. Like if your dark die is the highest roll, Sarah, specifically, it has to be matching.
Because I'm helping, bad things can happen to me too, basically.
Okay.
Okay, so this isn't a bargain. This is something completely different. So Sarah, roll your d6.
Alrighty.
And I roll my d6s?
And unless we want to throw out a devil's bargain to give you an extra one if you wanted. Does anyone have any idea?
Derek says that you can slip in the mud again while maneuvering.
I'll say sure, but this is just going to cover you in mud, meaning you're going to be uncomfortable for a really long time because your clothes are covered in mud. But you're still going to get there and get in his way. But you're still just going to be, at this point, concussed, covered in mud.
You're just one with nature, one would say.
Oh,
Yeah.
God. I mean, to be fair, he is a guide. He already has all the one with nature crap.
Sure. It's just, you don't have to take it. You don't have to take it. You can just roll your 1d6. Unfortunately, Sarah's die is not great.
I'm thinking of taking that complication mud. Is he's getting up with all the mud, and maybe thought on interpretation of where some of the mud comes from. The bat spits at him.
Gotcha. Okay, I like it.
Go
go ahead and
thought.
Yeah, go ahead and take it. So roll 3d6s. The first one will be your dark die.
Yeah.
And the other two will be others. Okay. That'll be a success. However, the tie goes to the dark. So you do actually take a condition. But we'll get to that in a moment. You do not take any ruin, Sarah. As you maybe as Nehen falls, you intersperse yourself in just amount of time so that like the delay of him having to go through you to get to Mahera is enough for Nehen to scramble back up. But eventually the two of you surround this large man, and he backs away. Okay. I just want my hat back from that one right there. That's all I want. You give me that hat back. No trouble.
Give him his hat.
What? Did you say something, Crane?
Give him his hat.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear you.
Sorry, I used Nahen's voice, which doesn't
got
always
you,
pick the
got you,
best up
got
on mic.
Mahara's just kind of gonna look at Basso like, do I really have to? Like, I took it. It's cool.
Go on now. Return his hat. It's not yours.
All right. She'll hand it to Nehen, and then just kind of like trudge, and she'll go kind of like pout by a tree, like, all you adults are no fun.
So at this point, you see the Apiarist like yanks his hat away, kind of does the classic as he walks past Nehen, just a gentle like bump into him, but like doesn't really do anything, just sort of bumps, just so you know he's there. And the rest of the Apiarists leave, and they go after the ridge where they just saw their horse tumble over, and they are no longer here. However, Nehen, you're gonna for your condition, as you mark another ruin, as you're up to 3 now, you feel a compulsion to hum. Just comes over you. Maybe it's the condition kicking in, just the frustration. But every so often, it's not a tune, it's not a song, it's just like a tone, and you just start every so frequently humming.
Oh, then.
I'm not even gonna make it into this forest, am I?
We're right there at the edge. And so unless there's something in particular that any of you wanted to do, I say we move and we push forward inside at this point.
Into the forest we go.
Okay. So after this initial annoyance, Nehen's patience wearing thin, Mehera might one day become the source of him bursting out from that frustration as you all kind of travel for a bit. The opening few miles of the Hummingwood are not too difficult. It's warm. It's very, very warm though. And so Nehen, you're feeling a little bit of like this discomfort as the soaked, muddy clothes are probably making it even more uncomfortable trudge. At one point, you all come across a sack, like a forager sack, dangling down from this thin tree, this branch hanging overhead. It's a little ways up, but it's just in barely out of reach, even for the tallest among you. But yeah, you can just see the sack hanging up there.
Being a tall individual, Sarah would like to try to get that sack down.
How would you like to go about doing that?
So since I have speed, I want to try to do like a running jump to get to it.
Okay. I don't think there's a major risk here. I think the risk is just that you just look kind of silly. You don't necessarily, I don't think it's a relatively flat ground. So even if you don't quite make the jump, I don't think you're at any logical or realistic risk of hurting anything. So go ahead and roll your D6 to see if you're able to reach up and snatch it.
That's a 6.
Yes, very impressively. To the point where maybe some of you start to wonder a bit, like, she is actually quite capable. Tall, strong, agile. As long as you stay on her good side, that's a hell of a boon. If you piss her off, however, or if you draw her ire, what might come of that? But as you snatch down this bag, you kind of start rifling through it, Sarah, and you notice that inside it's a bunch of fungus, these fingerling fungus, like this yellow and black stripes of some kind. Not exactly sure what it is. This is a forager's pack, so it's somebody who probably comes mushrooming or looking for berries or some other seedlings or plants. And whatever they've collected here, it just appears to be yellow and black fungus in these strange, kind of like crooked finger type shapes.
You did say Bassa was a forager, regardless of him being a smuggler.
No, I'm not a forager. Because Nehen has foragers, so.
You're a damn forager, Basso. Accept it. Your whole family
I
was
have foraging.
foragers. Do you?
I have
Okay.
foraging. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Would this give me any
yeah.
insight?
Yeah, I'll say like this is you would imagine that likely this is something that you could potentially eat, or you could add to a meal. It's probably not something that you would want to eat kind of raw and on its own, as it's a little bit of a pungent flavor to it.
If you have to, yes. Should you? No.
Exactly.
Well, I
So
am
you guys,
not
go ahead.
hungry at the moment, but feel free to take as you wish. And she sort of like, she has other things to do and just sort of tosses it your way to have.
Nehen would strap the pack on to his already assortment of packs and equipment and other things he has from being a permanent wilderness man.
Here you go.
So you continue further into the Hummingwood, and you probably stop briefly for a midday meal. Continue to travel until kind of mid-afternoon. The sun is still shining. Further and deeper you go into the forest, the thicker it becomes, and you also feel like a sogginess to the ground as your feet begin to sort of sift into the dirt more than when you're outside of the woods perimeter. You notice something, Basso and Sarah, as you're looking off, and you see this brown mound, like off to the left as you're traveling, a little bit off the path. It's not a trail, more just like a, when I say path, I just mean easy enough route where you're not stepping over roots every 2 seconds. But you see off like a mound of dirt has been piled up, and you can see that there have been some skulls that have been arranged on top of it. Sarah, perhaps, I mean, maybe instinctively your first thought might have to do with graves of some kind, maybe. It's up to you.
Absolutely.
But when you look at it, you see that there are a total of 6 animal skulls. And Basso, as you're looking down on it, you sense like there's some kind of organization to it, right? It's not just random or haphazard. There's like large, small, large, small. What kind of skills do you have, Basso?
I'm like a dex or die, so I have dexterity, stealth, and spontaneity.
Okay. Mehra, you might probably be the better one considering your demonology practices. You might even, in Nehen 2, might even be able to recognize bear skull, rabbit skull, elk skull, squirrel. And then that's when Sarah, you probably chime in, human skull, child skull. All of you go ahead, and I think for the first time we'll do a different type of roll. So in this game, there's also what's called a ruin roll, which is sort of comparable to like a stress roll or panic roll, like in our alien game we play sometimes, or sand, something like that. So all of you just roll 1d6 when you experience or witness something that's disturbing, or you know, in this case, this might be somewhat disturbing. And if it is higher than your current ruin, you take 1 ruin and a condition.
And I take another ruin.
Oh my gosh.
Oh boy.
Like I said, I'm not even gonna make it into the forest.
You're not.
We're officially
Oh,
in the
man.
forest now,
We're
right?
You're in the forest.
All right. I passed.
We
the
are
mark
we are
for one.
officially in ring 2. We are in ring 2 at this point.
Well, it's a good thing it only takes about 30 seconds to generate a character in this game.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay, how'd everybody do?
I rolled a 4.
Okay.
Also.
So
We all
everybody,
did.
yeah, so everybody, you start to take on some kind, yeah, everyone maybe becomes a little bit stressed by this. It's one thing seeing the animal skulls, but seeing the human skull, and then even more specifically, the child skull, right? That's a wee bit unsettling, especially for maybe the child. So all of you are going to take a condition, and I'm open to hearing, like, if you have thoughts on what it might be. If you have an idea of like how this specific moment might be like more permanently affecting your character, like how it might affect them moving forward. But I can throw out obviously some ideas as well.
I have one.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay. Nehen is having having flashbacks to the failed rebellion in Tyrolis.
I like it.
You know that
maybe
his driver refers to.
Maybe
Yeah.
like some PTSD.
And he yes,
Mhm.
PTSD exactly is what I was going for. But he remembers the piles of skulls
yeah.
of the rebels, the children of rebels, the people he fought beside as they were slaughtered.
I love it. I love it. So yeah, so you just put PTSD, you know, for,
PTSD flashbacks.
yeah, that'll work.
Just
What
gonna
about the
write down
rest of you?
flashbacks?
Yeah, that's fine.
My hair has broken her arm once before, so this
Okay.
just kind of reminds her like she has bones in her body, as weird as that is. Like, it's not something you normally think of, and she starts to just itch at the arm
Mhm.
that she broke previously, and maybe it's like a compulsive thing until she breaks skin.
And I'm gonna add to that because I like that
Okay.
a lot. You start to feel at first what you think is an itch, right? And you break the skin. But after a little while, as you're traveling later, the itch doesn't remain localized to the one place where you broke the skin. You start feeling that in all of your extremities or on your face, and it almost stops feeling like an itch and starts feeling like bugs are crawling over your skin.
Ooh, okay.
I'm going to say
I
that.
like it.
Beautiful. Basso, Sarah, ideas?
I think I'll do like maybe some sort of paranoia. Like this looks arranged and someone's out there looking at us.
Mm-hmm. And maybe as you're there and you're leaning down, you hear the shuffling of something in the brush, and you look over just in time to see a couple tufts of leaves from a hedgerow or something like that begin to shake, as if somebody maybe 50 yards away was just kind of staring at you, and kind of feeds that paranoia to some degree. Love it. Sarah?
Since Sarah's background was as a grave robber and she's not anymore, I'm gonna say that this, kind of puts her back into kind of remembering a particular grave that she robbed. And so it's kind of like a dissociation. You just sort of see like she's in a far off place for a little while.
Okay. Again, I think I want to add to that a little bit, if it's okay with you. And maybe we're going to say, to differentiate yours a little bit from Nehen, is like maybe you're haunted a bit. And maybe like there's like a specific face or an image of a grave, or maybe you hear the sound of a little girl running somewhere, and you look over and you see just out of the corner of your eye, the kind of the light brown flickers of hair of little Lavinia from your home village just disappear behind a trunk, and you kind of shake your head a little bit as you are haunted
Just hear
now.
Laughs.
Just
Just
giggling
little
every so now and
giggles.
then. Yeah, nothing unsettling. There's nothing more heartwarming than the sound of a child laughing. Also, nothing creepier, depending upon the context.
Actually, there's the best little girl laugh. Creepy little girl
Yeah.
laughs.
Oh,
Wait,
actually, and
I have to channel Annie.
we should talk about at one point. Remember that game we used to play where you started wandering around like just a little girl? Remember that? I can't remember the name. Was it
Yeah.
Damned? I think it was Damned.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was Damned.
fantastic.
I'm
Okay.
just a little girl.
Oh God.
Oh,
I'm not supposed to get
God.
scared, Ashley. All right. So all of you, after stopping and each one of you having this like unsettling moment, you eventually push past, right? Each of you beginning, maybe you start drifting a little bit further apart from one another at times as you're contending with your own demons, whatever they might be, literal or otherwise. And as your feet begin to sink further and further into the ground, you realize at a certain point that you hear the sloshing of water as your boots now have been covered in what looks like some kind of floodplain where there's like a shallow inland sea. You look around and there's just color everywhere. Up until this point, it's been like kind of this autumnal array of like browns and oranges and fading greens. But now you're seeing flowering plants blooming here and there, taking advantage of whatever precipitation has hit. There's these immense stalks for some of these flowers that on average is taller than even Nehen and Sarah, the tallest among you, right? Like you feel you have to look up at times to see the flowering blooms. The petals are kind of swaying here and there in the breeze. There's a scent that begins to waft around you all. It's a sweetness that is actually somewhat refreshing as it begins to worm its way up your nostrils a bit. And you continue to trudge through the heavy water, and you're starting to feel like this great kind of quietness overtake you. You feel a little tired at a certain point. Basso, as you look around suddenly, you realize there's no one here. You've completely lost sight of the rest of your party.
Guys,
What do you do?
where'd you go? I'll just start running around, frantically looking for him.
Okay. You run around frantically looking for them. Do you have any kind of skill that might aid in kind of searching or tracking or anything like that?
No, I don't have anything like that.
Okay. Okay. I'll give you a devil's bargain if you want to roll. I'll give you a light die to roll here, even though you don't have a skill. So you get your 1 die from this, and a dark die as you're literally running around. And the complication is that by screaming, you're going to awaken something within the stalks of these flowers. Something else, not your party, is going to hear this and might become an issue. So that's your devil's bargain if you want a light die. Otherwise, you're just rolling 1 dark die as you're all by yourself. You got an idea, Nehen?
Just this being Nehen's job and all, would he be able to roll an assisting to try to help hit to try to wait a minute, we're missing someone.
Sure. I would say I don't see why not, even though you're not in the same vicinity, something to make it easier for you to let Basso find him. Yeah.
Backtracking.
Okay. So roll your d6, Nehen, and just sort of explain what Nehen would do.
Well, step 1, he'd backtrack, and he'd turn around, look, search, and then start backtracking, and go, Basso!
Okay. Go ahead and roll your d6.
Okay. So basically, snark.
Okay. So, Basso, then you have a 2 as part of your roll already. If you want my devil's bargain, you can roll 1 light die. Otherwise, you're just rolling 1 dark die right now. Do you want the devil's bargain?
Yeah. Hold on. So if I just roll a dark die, it just takes the result, and I add a ruin because it's a dark die.
Yeah. You're basically going to end up with a ruin. I think if you roll a 1, though, you wouldn't take ruin, but you also wouldn't pass, and you would still be alone. The failure condition here is that you remain alone. No one finds you.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll take the bargain then.
Okay. So go ahead and roll 2d6s. The first one's a 3. The second one's a 4. The 4 means you succeed. And as you're calling out, you probably are knocking over a variety of these stems. You hear something splashing around, and you chase after it, thinking it might be your party, but it's not. And you see something shadowy kind of move about. You hear a weird kind of buzz come from the darkness ahead, and you slowly back away. And it's at that point the buzzing is interspersed with Basso! This low, droning voice of Nehen as you turn around, and there's your party. Go ahead and take a ruin. Actually, no, you don't take a ruin because you rolled a 3. Sorry.
All right.
Your best roll was a 4, so you don't take ruin. Neither does Nehen because you didn't roll a match. Okay. But now the complication of something is awake.
There you are.
That was the bargain's complication. Is there just a normal, or do we get a complication for that?
That's the complication. The complication, I don't have to necessarily spring that on you right this moment. It's something that I can kind of put into my pocket and draw that out at a different time.
When you take a devil's bargain, it's a guarantee that that's going to happen.
Yep. Guarantee whether you succeed or fail. So you by taking it, there's something else in here that is also awake and knows you're here. So it's good that you found them. However, something is out there. Mahara and Sarah. Sarah, you as you were kind of following Nehen's lead, you kind of bumped into Basso eventually, and as everyone kind of takes their breath, and maybe Nehen scolds Basso for drifting off by himself, you're taking inventory and you realize something. You lost something. What important supply item did you lose during all of this commotion? Somewhere in the water, somewhere amongst these flower stalks. What important item?
Ever popular 50 feet of rope that was tied onto the bottom of my sack fell off silently at some point.
Okay.
Mine would be more sentimental. It was the last, like, I had a piece of my mother's dress. Like, that was the last bit that I had of her.
Okay. So, one of the reasons why you want vengeance against Lord Hafir, does that have anything to do with your mother?
Yeah, my mom was a serf under his rule. And one day she made his tea too hot and it spilled on his lap. And he killed her on the spot.
Wow. Okay. Good
This
to know.
guy's the Lord of Tyrolus. This might explain part of why Nehen is rebelling. Or was rebelling. Because crazy
Sorry, my
jackass.
mind's dark.
I know,
That's
but
bad
crazy,
leadership.
crazy jackass who murders people for no reason.
Worth rebelling against for sure.
Yeah. And then murdered tons of more people. And there were mountains of skulls.
Nan, as you're leading the group forward, and Sarah and Mary, you're fixing your pack basso. You're just probably pushing yourself in between everybody, so you're not like, on the outskirts. You're not leading. You're not behind. Nehen, you notice up ahead something in kind of this small open area, this pool where stalks don't seem to grow, and you notice there is a body, swollen, kind of half rotted, floating around in this pool, and you can see it's clutching something in its hand. Maybe a weapon, maybe something rusted in metal, maybe.
About how far out is this guy in this pool?
Maybe 10, 15 feet around there.
Okay. So as any good guide has their walking implement, he's going to take his long walking stick, lean out, and try to pull the guy in.
Okay. Yeah. Easy. No problem. You just reach this. I think that makes perfect sense, and kind of drag them towards you. You notice that the body seems to be clutching a brazier. It's obviously not lit, but you can see like this rusted kind of black iron metal. Looks like there's clothing still left on this man that you could tell, but the face is almost indistinguishable. It's just lumpy and soggy as you kind of flip the body over slightly.
Posture check.
Oh.
There we go. If I sit up too high, my head gets cut off by the screen. So
I think I'm the one getting posture checked because I keep leaning forward into the roll.
good. Leaning forward's good. So you've got this body, soggy, face lumpy and swollen. What about it, Sarah, as you are leaning over, what about it makes it look like this how do I put this? How do you think this body died? You're a grave robber. You've seen dead bodies, desiccated corpses. If anybody, you're not a doctor, but if anybody is skilled enough in death, it's you. How do you think they died?
It is a skill that I have. So, kind of looking at the body a little bit closer, Sarah would say, notice that although the body is a bit swollen from the water it has taken on, there are dark marks around the neck. So I do believe that this man found his death at the hands of another about his throat, and then he was tossed into this body of water.
Bazo, she's pointing this out. What item is visible on this body that leads you to believe that this is your missing knight?
He has his knight's crest that identifies his hometown.
What does that look like?
It's got the antlers of a ram.
What was his name, your knight?
His name was Joan.
Okay. All right. So, in addition to that, Bazo, you see that there's this, you can tell there's something valuable as well. Something that would have value to everybody, but also it's something that has more value to you. Because not only could you just sell it at a merchant, but you would have some kind of nostalgic or sentimental value as well. So what is it you can see that would be clearly of interest to everybody in the party, but even more to you?
I may make a suggestion.
Yeah, shoot it.
Sure, yeah.
His sword.
Pretty big one.
Okay.
And
so
we would
you
just
can
think it looks like a kick-ass sword, but
Yeah.
he would know otherwise.
And so you watch as Mahera, this young 9-year-old child, picks up your mentor's sword, your now deceased mentor's sword, with some kind of, like, the pommel of the sword is you can tell, almost like golden. You can see it patinaed to some degree from sitting in the water for so long. It's got these ram horns and stuff, and there's where the eyes of the ram might be, there's these little gems and rubies. And even though the sword itself was in the water, it was in its scabbard, so some of the blade, the metal, is still protected. But Mahera, you pick up and you have this sword in your hands now, as everybody is like staring and poking at this body.
Oh god, it's probably as big as the poor kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bigger than, actually. She's probably shorter than the blade on this thing.
Oh, I don't know how big this is, but I'm gonna do like what I did earlier with the hat, and I'm just gonna kind of like be like, and I'm gonna wander over to Basso and be like, "Look at this," and then just kind of hand it to him, and then wander off. To my...
You're just gonna freely give over valuable treasure to Bazo.
Well, would I know how valuable this is, though?
Oh, there's gold and gems. You might not know the precise monetary value, but there's gold and gems in it. So clearly that alone
Shiny,
is going to be
colorful
worth
stuff.
money. And boy, could that...
I do have a war to fund.
You have a
okay.
war chest to start, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, then I will just kind of like look at the body, like, are we done? And then just kind of like tuck it along between my pack and my back.
Okay.
So it's kind of dragging in the ground, probably.
Let everybody
Okay.
know
That's
this is my knight. It's sad to see him fallen.
so he was strangled. He's looking down, looking at the marks. Hands or rope, you think?
I think it was hands.
Hands.
It would appear more like hands. And I'm gonna kind of roll the body over and see that there isn't anything necessarily on the backside, and say it doesn't look like rope, it looks like hands.
Bassa, did he come in here with anyone?
It's possible it's an adventuring party. He knows. That's Mahera. I advise you return that sword. It's quite dangerous.
It's also a little too large for you to carry, little one. Let him have it for the time being. I'll hand you something more your size.
Hera, you're free to react to that however you like.
Oh, I was gonna time out, Justin. What? Sorry.
I was just saying, advising you to hand over his sword.
Yeah. So was it Nehen or was it Bazo who was specifically requesting the sword and then
I was
said,
requesting it.
Yeah.
Sword to Basso. If she gives
Yeah.
him the sword without problem, Nehen will give her one of his knives. One of his sharp, pointy implements that is not like twice her size.
Sarah, what is it when he holds up the knife that he's willing to trade to Mahera? What is it that makes it clear that this is not a particular? I mean, like it's probably decently. It's kept in good condition, but it there's something about it that makes it clear that this is a well used, not very valuable like knife. Like what about just looking at it? You can immediately tell that this is cheap.
The very tip is chipped off.
Okay. So she's got a sharp blade, but the very tip is chipped off. And
Very
Mahara, you're able to see that as well.
And Nayan's it's basically like probably got an imprint of his hand on the grip. This thing has been in his use so long.
Mahara, she acts like a child, but like you don't really know how old she is actually. She acts like she's 9, 14, but like sometimes she's got a flash of something that makes her seem older than what she looks like. And she's gonna stare Basso down and just be like, and she's gonna like flick at the gemstone or whatever that's put in the pommel and just be like, do you really think that I would make a trade of this for that? I have a war to fund. Maybe if we get something different, we can work out a trade. And then she's gonna start walking away.
As you walk away, Mahara, you leave them behind for a moment. You trudge forward, splash, 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 and you're kind of like doing the creepy child giggle, like looking over your shoulder, seeing if they're coming. And you don't notice that as you're taking 2 steps, this pitcher plant that has collected all manner of water just suddenly tips over and spills all over top of you. And not only is it water, but there's something else mixed in it, like a pollen, a resin of some kind. So it's sticky and it begins to swallow you down into the water, almost like quicksand. How are you trying to get out of this?
Let's see. I don't really have anything for that. I guess. So I'm like sinking.
Yeah, you're like kind of covered in it and it's heavy. So it's kind of pulling you down. And then you have your packs. And so the water's not too deep, but you're kind of getting trapped beneath it. And you've kind of left them squabbling behind. So if you don't quickly do something,
We see this happen?
yeah, you can. I just want to hear what she does first.
Okay.
And then if you want to assist, you're welcome to.
What do I need to do? If I use a ritual, does that give me ruin?
So
You
a
get a ruin
ritual
for
is a little more
taking
you automatically take one. Ritual's kind of involved. It takes a
so
little
I
bit
have
more
to do,
effort.
Like, a whole thing for it. Okay.
I don't know. It depends. You just describe what you're thinking, and we'll go from there.
Because my ritual that I have is Kindle. So I produce fire from within myself, and it starts out like how I imagine it with Mahara is like frustration. So she can feel it kind of building in her stomach, and it like rushes up along her bones, so up her spine, down her arms, until it concentrates in her hands and her skin starts to bubble until like flames just sort of burst forth from her palms. So I imagine she's kind of scarred already from when she uses it.
Okay. Take the ruin.
Okay.
And what I'll say is roll a light die. D6, just like a normal skill check, and we'll see if you pass it. nothing of yours gets destroyed in the process. Like if you get a 6,
Okay.
otherwise anything other than a 6, you're gonna lose something of value.
Okay. 6.
Boom.
Wow.
You are touched by fate as you and
She really
Basso,
is.
as maybe you take a couple steps to go help her, you see just like this burst of kind of reddish orange light just kind of erupt and like a bit of steam come up, and suddenly she's standing covered still in this like sticky substance. So your condition, we got to talk about that since you took a what are you at now in terms of conditions?
I have the itchy all over, bugs under my skin kind of thing. That's
Okay.
what we got for my second one. Should I have given myself one for just taking a ritual?
Yeah, whenever you mark a ruin, you take a condition.
Okay.
So we're gonna say as you kick up and out of the water, nonetheless, like water and something went up your nose, and you're like doing very unflattering like snot rockets to kind of clear your nostrils. And doing so, there's like this sensitivity, and all of a sudden, once you kind of get your wherewithal, your wits about you, the scents that have been cascading around you in this area become more overwhelming than they were moments. Like it's as if your olfactory senses have just been kicked into overdrive, and you just feel like burning higher and higher up your nostrils as you are sensitive to strong scents. It's
That's gonna come back and bite us.
yeah, whatever bits went up your nose from whatever was in that plant has just done something to the nasal passageways.
Okay.
You guys push forward.
I was trying to look at the rules for rituals, and I didn't really see anything besides like if you get a ritual, you get 1 ruin. I don't know if
Yeah,
using it.
There really isn't much to it. It's more kind of like narrative flavor. You just
Okay.
describe what you do. So like she was always going to be successful. My question was just whether or not like just because she's using fire, whether or not she was going to like kind of burn something off of her at the same
I
time.
guess my
So-
question was, do I get more ruin for using it?
Mm-mm. You
Okay.
like using it is literally spending the ruin, is spending that. So
You get a dark die if you do it as part of a risk roll.
yeah, but I wasn't going to. I guess yeah, we could treat it that way if it's part of a ritual. Do we want to? You rolled your d6. So why don't you roll? Yeah, roll a dark die. Ashley, as long as you don't get a 6, you're fine. Yeah,
3.
you're fine. So it works out the way we've described it. So it's just you're not taking an extra ruin.
Okay.
So you're just taking the 1 for actually using the ritual. Okay. So you guys push forward, and you push through this kind of floodplain with the forested flowers, and eventually you make it kind of past it. And as you're sitting there looking back at this miles long floodplain of these tall giant flowers, you look ahead to another tree line. Looks like our internet's going crazy. Hopefully people can still hear us right now. You guys notice that there's a disturbance up ahead along the tree line. You see like a rustling in the overgrowth. And moments later, an enormous moose, 8 feet tall, starts parading right past you, completely unafraid or unaffected by the 4 of you. You can see that its antlers are coated in honey, speckled with bees, some living, some dead. You can see there's some movement to them. You can see that the snout of this creature is sticky and slick. The last bits of sunlight are kind of reflecting off of it. You can see that the hoof prints that it leaves behind are kind of golden in a way. Like there's this rind to it, and it's moving from deeper in the forest, the direction you're going, and kind of passing. It's almost like this is the direction you're going. Let's say, Nehen, what do you know? Because this is something that's probably more in your area. What kind of folk knowledge do you know about the moose or the symbol of a moose that lends a certain level of inspiration to you all? Like something like there's something about like this is a sign or the symbol of a moose. What is it that you would know about like a moose that might encourage you all to move forward?
Moose.
Like a local legend or something.
Yes, a moose is a mighty creature of the wilds. They say that in times of darkness, such as the depths of winter, it can bring hope. Though that may just be that it's a lot of meat and a warm hide. It may be more than that.
We'll take any good omens we can get on this journey.
Aye. Yes. This is a rather odd moose, too. Never seen one like that. Some sort of honey on its antlers. And those tracks. What is with those tracks?
So you kneel down, and you take a look at those tracks, and there's like this gold layer on top of the soil. And you realize it's like a powdered layer of chitin. And it's like on top of the soil in this portion of the forest, and it looks like moving forward in the direction that the moose came. It's like the remains of generations of bees that have fallen to the floor. Months old, years old, decades, just bees and bees that have just fallen and decayed and kind of become just the forest floor.
I think I begin to see the point of those outfits.
What do you mean?
The ones earlier. We knew there'd be bees, but this is so many for so long. Look, it's nothing. Go down, and he brushes away like top layers, and it's just, more bees, more bees.
Eventually,
They're
after
not.
like maybe an inch or two, like a solid inch or two, you start to finally feel like the soil. But even the soil itself is almost sort of chunky with little residue of bees.
This is... Look, I've seen something like this in a tiny scale when you, for example, poison an entire colony of ants. But that might be just a few feet across. This is the forest.
And Sarah will just make sure that everyone else has seen this and just say we need to keep our eyes on the path at our feet and listen carefully to what may come on the air.
So do you follow the moose's footprints into the deeper and denser areas of the forest?
Well, we are looking for royal jelly, which is a kind of honey. So the moose had honey on its horns, which means honey that away.
Yeah. So you plunge into like the denser areas. The trees are becoming more crowded the further you go in. The light is waning as not just is day passing, but branches are becoming more frequent. The leaves are becoming a little bit more lush, and it's becoming darker in both ways. Sarah, when you were younger, your village, in addition to having the issue with Lavinia, you probably lived on the outskirts of a different wood, kind of a friendly copse of trees, and there was an animal that was almost a mascot-like that would be seen. People would see it, and they'd kind of treat it in kind of a form of reverence. Maybe it was used in some forms of more pagan-like worship. Maybe it was something that was considered like a good luck charm if seen. What animal was that? It's like a forested creature.
I was thinking about going light-hearted and going ferret, but I actually think I'm gonna go the other direction and go crow.
A crow. It's as you start thinking about that you realize that in this entire journey, you have not heard nor seen a single bird, crow, hawk, or any other kind. None whatsoever. When you sit there and start to listen now, as you're a mile further in from where the moose was, you realize that you don't hear much other than the breeze, like this whistling that seems to periodically come through. And it's at the point like, no, it's not a whistle. It's sort of a hum, like a buzzing, like an angry buzzing. And just as the light almost gives way to night, you see in the distance like the contours of an animal. It's not a crow, but it's something winged, and it's dark. It might be a crow, you're not sure, but it's like braying, and sort of its wings have extended outward, and it's sort of like wildly kind of beating itself. And you realize there are these fuzzy bees the size of fists that are swarming about this thing, and its feet seem to be stuck in some kind of yellowish resin in the floor of the forest. And it's as it's desperately trying to swat away these fist-sized swarms of bees. What do you do with this?
Well, most of my skills have to do with bodyguard. I've got protection, speed, and vigilance, so I think I want to just go over and see what I can do to free this winged creature that's in distress.
Okay, so you're going to lunge forward and try to help it.
Mm-hmm.
This is dangerous, so you're going to have a dark die. What skill are you pulling on? Like a bodyguard thing, you said? Like, is there a specific one?
I have protection, speed, and vigilance.
Okay, speed to get there quickly. That makes sense. I think any of those would probably apply.
Can I do multiple of them? Do I get more if I pull them?
No, you don't. You can only ever get one skill die. So you get one light die for your skill, one dark die, because this is dangerous, as you're charging into a swarm of fist-sized fuzzy bees that seem to be attacking a winged creature. And does anybody want to throw an assist die in this?
I do.
Okay, Nehen, you're going to charge in with her?
No, well, he's actually, because you said it's getting darker, right?
It is. It's almost it's almost night.
So by now he's lit a torch.
Okay.
Which his being, homemade kind of cheap crap from whatever he could throw together, not being a wealthy man, probably a little bit oily and smoky. So he's going to go with her with said thing.
Okay. Roll your die to add to. Does anybody else want to assist with this? Mahara, Basso?
Every assist is a 2
I know.
today.
It has been, yeah.
At least
Mahara
you
and Basso, you can
try.
still help. Yeah, like you
At least
haven't
can
rolled
cast it
yet.
and take a ruin.
You haven't rolled yet.
Oh yeah, that's true. It's not my
Mahara, Basso, you see Sarah and Nehen kind of charge off into the darkness, and they're like kind of swatting away at something.
It's not the darkness. There's the torches going with them.
I can throw her like an old rag to cover some bare skin, or to like swat at bees if needed.
Okay, go ahead and roll an assist die. And Mahara, you don't have to assist. It's just if you want to.
She doesn't want to go near that thing.
Okay, so you watch as they just charge off. Okay, Sarah, do you want some kind of devil's bargain? Can anyone think of one here?
I have an idea for one.
Okay, shoot.
Regardless of what she does, it is too late to actually save the crow, and she can only give it a swift death.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Wait, so in helping the bee, if she succeeds, it dies anyways?
Right. So yeah, I guess then what does that encourage her to
Yeah.
help then? Yeah.
That would be whether it dies slow and suffering or whether it dies quick.
If this was a symbol of my village, like I would have sort of a that kind of a tie to it. Like it's not
Okay.
just a regular roll crow where I'm not going to care. But
Okay.
It's kind of connected to, symbolic to me, my upbringing.
So you're okay with that then? That it would like taking that bargain?
Yeah, I'll
Or-
take it.
Okay. All right. So 2
Or-
light die, 1. What's your idea? Mahara?
Because isn't it like trapped in sort of like
Mhm.
like a sap or like
Something.
obviously like jelly or something? You could have something important fall out of your pack and get stuck and not be removable from it without damaging that item.
We could do that. I was avoiding that one just because I think we already tapped into that for her.
Oh,
with the
did we?
water
Okay.
at one point.
Yeah, I already lost our 50.
Oh yeah, you and I did. Okay.
We
But I think
could,
she could pick, right?
we
Like,
could just
give her a
say-
couple.
yeah, or we could say you get stung.
Ooh.
You're gonna get stung. That's it.
So regardless, I'm going to get stung, and maybe
Yep.
I'll help out this important symbol.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, I'll go. Okay, so I'm rolling 3.
So no, it's 2 light die. I'm sorry, you have 1 skill die. You took the devil's bargain, so it's 2 light die
And
and 1 dark die. So 3 total.
Right.
Okay.
So Basso tied my dark.
Basso, as you charge in with her, and you're swiping with this cloth, trying to help her. Nehen is moving this cloth around. One of these fist-sized bees manages to get underneath your defenses and starts to latch right onto your neck, and you feel a pierce go right into your neck, Basso. Go ahead and take 1 ruin. And your condition is that you've been marked by a bee.
Done.
As this swollen, pulsating mass. And Sarah, same thing happens to you. Because in this game, the dark wins the tie. So you too, maybe not on your neck, maybe yours is just on your arm as you're swiping down. And now, over the course of the next hour or two, both of you, like this huge pulsating mass, like Basso, it almost looks like a goiter is beginning to form on your neck. Sarah, it looks like your elbow has shifted a few inches down your arm as you've been stung and marked. But you're nonetheless able, especially with the assistance of the fire, to kind of scat away all of these fist-sized bees. And you can see that there's this crow. It's an enormous crow, by the way, and that's why you're kind of like, that couldn't be. It's too big. But as you see, it's enormous, and you can see that it's suffered significantly. You can see that it's almost cooked. You can see that there's areas of it where it's like soaking wet. You can see other places where the feathers have been ripped out, and there's kind of like this heat that's giving off that you're almost surprised, and there's sting marks here and there. You can see one of its legs has sort of pulled itself out of its socket. It's just been trying to retract its talons, its foot from within what is effectively some kind of hardened honey. And you are able to very quickly and deftly give it a mercy kill. And what does that look like, Sarah?
So I am kind of going to kind of close my eyes, and kind of put my kind of rather large hands kind of around its body, and you kind of will see her mutter some words. Like you definitely see her for a good 30 seconds sort of saying unintelligible words, and then she'll kind of take a deep inhale, and then as she exhales, she'll rid it of its suffering.
You all watch her, give her a moment of space. Mahara, you know as a demonologist, or maybe as a sort of a demonologist's assistant now coming into her own, that crows, there's multiple pieces that you could use in various rituals, tonics, tinctures, the feet, the feathers, the beak, the organs on the inside. You know, if you just could grab this thing, especially one of this size, you would have ingredients for concoctions and rituals that would certainly outdo what you already have. They do anything on this?
If they start walking away, yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna like linger behind the group.
Okay.
That's not linger. I got lost last time.
I actually wanted to ask. So I have a ritual called Enliven,
Okay.
which gives
Oh.
flesh and breath to an effigy.
Okay. Do you want to do it?
Could I do a ritual on this one? And like, I'm hoping to bring it back. Like,
You want to bring it back to life?
Mhm.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
and set it free.
Evanescence.
All right. Mark one ruin.
Oh,
And
you
just-
take a ruin.
Yeah. And describe what your ritual looks like.
So, you know, kind of you saw me kind of put it out of its misery. And I look like I'm kind of burying it as if I'm going to leave it. But then, like, as soon as I've put the last bit of ground over its body and it's completely covered, I then immediately swipe it all back away, pick it back up, and you just see me sort of just take a deep, 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 deep breath and just sort of exhale onto it.
It takes a couple moments, like as she's just sitting there kind of quietly for a little bit. Maybe Mahara, you're still watching Basso. I know you're lingering over her shoulder. And you watch the kind of carcassed bee ground that's mixed with soil begin to suddenly move. And then this large crow's head bursts out of it. The wings kind of flail right and left. And as it starts to shake off all of the dirt and residue, you hear a young girl's laughter emerge from its beak as it starts to caw. And it lifts off into the air and disappears into the night. I want all of you to go ahead and roll one of those ruin rolls.
So,
Do you-
just as a point of order, me doing that, if I have to take a ruin for using it, puts me at 5.
Okay. You do have to mark a ruin for a ritual.
And so
It's
now
in
I roll a
rules.
d6.
Yeah, and so it's only if you're over. So it's going to be hard for you to get. So just don't roll a 6, Sarah.
I didn't.
Okay. So if you rolled over, let me make sure it's just over and not equal to. When it's experience, if the result is higher, yeah, it's got to be higher. So if you rolled higher, you mark one ruin and take a condition.
I'm fine.
Okay. Anybody take anything? All right. So this is
You roll,
very
you mark
I
5
had to
ruin.
roll too. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot to.
yeah.
I was,
Anybody
I was
who was
sitting there thinking
witnessing
about what
it.
Nehen would say.
Nan, if you think that he wasn't there, you can make that
No,
case. But
I'm thinking
Mahara-
about what he would
okay.
say. No, Nehen. I rolled a 1 for Nehen anyways.
Okay.
So,
All right.
But he's just going, black magic. And of course, now we're combining this with flashbacks and a concussion and the fact that he's already pissed off because he's muddy and damp.
it's been a rough time.
Yes.
Basso, you were asking, once you hit 5 ruin, you all, if you want, can begin to start doing reduction rolls. So you can take actions that are in the forest interests, meaning you destroy treasure, prevent rituals, sabotage fellow treasure hunters, and all those types of things. But you need to be sneaky about it. Now, we do have to, because we're in a stream together and stuff like that, we're playing, there's no way for you to communicate that this is what you're doing without just saying it out loud. So we do have to make sure we're being a little bit careful of characters doing this. Just because I said it out loud, I'm Ashley and I'm trying to steal something from Sarah, doesn't, and Melissa knows that, doesn't necessarily mean Sarah does, right? So just be kind of cognizant of that. So you need to be sneaky about it. So you roll a d6. If it's less than your current ruin, your betrayal goes unnoticed and you remove one ruin. If you roll, is it equal to or higher than the current ruin, then you can either choose to remove one ruin and somebody notices you, which can cause problems, or you don't remove ruin and no one notices that you did this. Make sense? So, yep. Sarah, you're at 5. What is everybody else at? I'm curious in terms of ruin.
4.
3. 4. And you're at 3, Mahara?
3, yeah.
Okay. You all settle in and camp out for the night. Let's see. Basso. As you're looking up between the branches, you can see that the stars are illuminating a little bit of the area. There's a constellation that you pick from between the branches that you know is like an omen, like a kind of like a traveler's guide that, similar to like the North Star, can guide you home. And so once you're successful on this venture, you know that if you just follow this, everything will be fine. What's the name of that constellation? And what does it look like?
It's gonna be an acorn. It just looks like an acorn.
Nice.
I like it. It's an acorn constellation. Okay. Mahara, as you all are kind of around a small campfire, you've eaten, you've drinking, you're getting ready for bed, you've noticed as you look at your pack that there's a tear in it. And when you look even more closely, you realize that the cut in it, it's too perfect. The seam is too perfect. It's not ragged. It wasn't just like it got caught on a branch. Someone cut this. Now, it's not just any pack. It's sort of the coated pack that all of you have brought to carry back with you the liquid of the royal jelly. Because if it was just in a regular canvas sack, or it would just seep through it. Who amongst this group would Mahara think is the one most likely to have affected this kind of sabotage?
I think at this point, she'd be wary because Nehen's been a little weird. He's been humming. He's been angry, and I know that he was still frustrated with me from stealing the hat from that guy. So I think that's who Mahara would be worried about.
So yeah, you're staring over at Nehen, and you're right, he's humming. And Nehen, you realize that this entire time you have been humming like a very kind of monotone, and then you realize that there's something else in the woods that almost seems to be trying to harmonize with you, or maybe you're the background and it's like providing the sort of the extra bits, the lead to the song. And you realize that your hum combined with the sounds, the woods that are reverberating, are kind of combining to make something familiar, like something from childhood, like a lullaby. What was that song about that lulled you to sleep as a kid that you're now hearing combined with your tone?
I almost started to sing a little improvised song. May I do that?
Of course, yeah.
Little child, honey and smiles. That was about as far as I got.
It's great.
So basically, but I sat there, I was like,
Singing.
oh, that's a really innocent and nice sounding one, and really creepy in context.
So maybe all of you hear that to some degree, and it is kind of creepy. Especially since none of you hear the other bits that he's hearing echoing throughout the woods here and there. Morning eventually comes, but you all wake before dawn. The stars are still lingering. There's a warmth in the air. Like it was an uncomfortable sleep. All of you are kind of coated with this dampness on your skin. Basso, you look back up and you can see the acorn there for you as you're watching in like the early pre-dawn darkness. And as you're staring at it, when you wake up and you kind of take a deep breath of reassurance. But as you're watching and looking up, you see it just begin to dissolve and break apart as fireflies start to move off in different directions. And you start to wonder if that was ever the constellation you saw to begin with. And you feel like this forlorn concern begin to like weigh down on your shoulders.
I'll just like mumble to myself, like, no. It's pretty much going a little bit of a fugue state.
Okay. You all break your fast. You check your things. Nehera, you realize probably as you wake up, you've got the sword kind of grasped in your hands, almost like you're clinging to a teddy bear of some kind. Sarah, you hear this rising hum as you all put your packs back on and continue and plunge deeper into the forest. And Sarah, you notice that there's this trail of these large bee scouts that seem to be kind of flying and winging themselves away from wherever it is that you're going. It gives you the sense that wherever they're coming from is where we should be going, as you kind of hush everybody for a moment and you watch this massive swarm just kind of dip out, and you realize that that's the direction that you want to go.
And Sarah will definitely, both so Basso and Nehen will just be like, we need to be able to listen where we're going. Can both of you hush? And she'll point in the direction that we should go.
I'll heed your advice. Just snap back into our situation and take cover.
So you watch as all of you just, and the sun has come up at this point. Dawn has arrived. These little rays of sunlight are coming down, and you sit quietly in this overgrowth, just watching like this huge swarm of bees just zipping around as if they're looking for something. Basso, Sarah, your arm and your neck begin to sort of throb with pain. You just feel it. And every time it does, you can see like that swarm of bees just suddenly kind of shift their attention ever so slightly. And then the throb kind of dissipates, or you cover it up, or you water it down. And suddenly the bees kind of shake a bit. But eventually they disappear further back the way you came, heading off towards where you found the moose, towards the flower forest, the floodplain, and you're able to get back on your path.
So Sarah's going to take a bit of like a shirt or something, and you'll see her wrap her elbow. Hoping that helps as we move forward.
Does this like swelling or whatever it's done like gone down or reduced at all?
It doesn't seem to be. It seemed to have stopped, but it hasn't reduced in size. Like it hasn't continued to grow even further and further, but it's still a large, noticeable bulb, the size of like a child's fist on your neck and on your arm.
Does it feel like maybe like a stinger was left behind or something?
Kind of fiddle
Inside.
around with it a bit, and as you do, you don't notice a stinger, but you feel something moving about. As you place your hand against it, you feel something else just kind of shifts ever so slightly. Now, no one else has noticed this. You're just kind of fiddling with it ever so slightly.
So I have a ritual that's siphoned to detect or extract if it's poisonous. So I guess I'll see if it's poisonous at all.
You wanna perform your ritual?
Yeah, and if it is poisonous, I'll pretty much just perform it to extract it as well.
Okay. Mark your ruin. You start performing the ritual. What does it look like when you do this? Tools,
It's
behavior.
a pretty barbaric ritual. I just get out some rusty knives and just start carving at it.
Okay. You just very crudely are starting to just carve and poke. As you do, you feel this strange sensation begin to well up in your throat. Just in the back, and then your teeth suddenly feel as if they're kind of like your mouth is filling up with this viscous liquid from the bottom up. Like it's coming from your throat and into your mouth. And you realize that you have to start flexing your mouth and your jaw and your teeth as like this waxy residue begins to form. As you cut, you can see all of you as Basso is doing this, if you want to be there, slithering and kind of pouring out of it is this sort of larva-like like sludge within which these kind of small, not yet fully formed insects are kind of slithering around, and they just drop to the ground in front of them. This kind of brown gold sludge that you're very easily just able to step on if you like. But once you do that, Basso, you feel like the pain in the neck, despite the fact that you just kind of cut away at it, go. It's gone. You feel better. Oh, it feels so much better. But you also notice that every time you stop moving your mouth or talking, the mouth just fills with that waxy feeling. And that is the condition that you're taking. If you don't keep talking or chewing, you worry that perhaps this wax might emerge from whatever was laid down there and seal your mouth shut.
Okay.
What are the rest of you doing? Did any of you watch that happen?
I would like to say that Sarah did.
Okay.
I feel like in this instance, Nehen is very intent on watching this swarm and trying to figure out its pattern of movement. Oh, wait, the swarm left already, didn't
The
it?
swarm left already, yeah.
Okay, but Nehen is... I think that this once, of all the horrible things he's watched, I think this one he might not have been paying attention to because he was too busy looking at the way ahead and trying to establish a path forward.
Okay.
If it didn't seem like super ritualistic, like I don't think Mahara would have watched it. I think she would have been listening and like kind of like keeping sentry while they do whatever they need to do.
Okay.
Maybe kind of
Nehen.
like hidden in a bush.
Sure. And you're just watching? Okay.
Yeah, just like the forest.
Okay. Nehen, as you're watching the swarm move about before it disappears, your kind of hunter instincts kick in, and you realize that it's obvious these bees know that there is an invader in the woods. There's somebody here. They're looking for it. And you look at your skin like sleek with sweat. You look at Mehera, who at this point is hiding now in this bush. She thinks no one can see her, but you clearly do, and her skin is glistening like sun is reflecting off of it, giving away her position ever so easily. And you realize that this stench of sweat that's pouring off all of you is probably going to betray you all to these kind of pheromone fueled swarms if you don't do something to mask your scents.
This is directed to Nan, yes?
Is it Nehen? Yeah.
Yeah. So, conveniently, Nehen is an outdoorsman, and he does know a thing or two about honey hunting. So, he is among the vegetation going to gather the oiliest plants that he can, and he's going to tie them into these tight bundles that you light, and then it just smokes, and it mucks with everything, bee, insect, etc. If he can find, there's a huge variety of them. I think me rattling it off would not be an ideal thing
fine.
for this given time.
We don't have to get that granular now.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to want to roll for this for two reasons. One, I want to roll just to see if the masking agent's going to be succeed or fail. Like, so I'm going to want the base check. I'm going to make an argument. You can push back on this if you want. You guys are in a fairly dangerous place. So at this point, you wandering off after just having seen a large swarm of fist-sized bees searching for you all, there's the potential that they could ambush you. So I think this is dangerous.
I don't think he'd wander completely off out of sight. I think he'd get others first and go, we need to do something about this.
Okay.
But that's his plan. So if we get ambushed, I think it might be us as a unit, which means that instead of it just being Nehen who dies without everyone knowing, everyone goes with me if they come along.
All right. If you don't separate yourself, then I say that's fine. We can. Well, but I think I'm still gonna want the roll though. So if you get the skill, which you do have, that's a D6. If you want a devil's bargain, the complication seems pretty clear. Is that the swarm returns?
Dang it! I even had a. I know this is a weird one, but I know of a good complication for mine. I just don't think I'm allowed to suggest it.
No, absolutely you are.
Okay.
Everyone is.
One of the plants that can do this is poison ivy, but its smoke is profoundly irritating and makes you cough real bad.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful. No, absolutely. Let's make that the complication instead. So if you want to take a second D6, the complication is that you'll be burning, basically, you said
burning
poison
a
ivy
horrible irritant.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
It could be poison ivy. I can't. There's a few other plants that'll do the same thing, but they're really, really good at repelling everything insect.
I love the idea of it causing you all to cough. I like that. So go ahead and roll 2d6. Yeah.
In that case, we're in too wet of an environment for creosote, but
okay. Success with complication. I'm gonna say the complication. Okay. The complication is that as you start burning this this plant, which causes all of you to cough, whatever the creature was that Basho saw when he was within the flower forest suddenly emerges from the brush and is looking for the source of the cough. And it is not your average looking forested predator. So Basho, what like kind of forest predator is it? And then I'm going to layer in weird stuff on top of it. So bear, fox, wolf, that kind of thing. Like, what's a forest predator that you think has been sort of tracking you all?
My immediate thought was a wolf.
Okay. You see a wolf, lone wolf, suddenly emerge from the brush, ears cocked, looking directly at the four of you who have these garlands of like plants around that are, however we want to describe
It
it.
would be you'd make a very, very tight bundle wind around with twine, and it's basically something you carry or like stuff under a thing. It looks like a large unwrapped cigar, basically.
Okay.
Like a smudge stick.
Yes, it looks like
So-
a smudge stick. It is functionally a smudge stick, just with
Okay.
poisonous things that make insects go by instead of sage.
And so as you guys are breathing in some of the smoke and coughs are emerging, its head is just sort of cocking at each. And that's when you realize it has no eyes. But instead you see this like orange yellow mass kind of covering its face. It looks as though there's some kind of coating kind of over its mane, and it's writhing. And there are these like small bees that are kind of covering it. It's not black fur, but rather an utter coating of bees, and it begins to slowly move towards you all. Cough, cough. It begins to pick up speed, and now it's in a downright run at you all. Now, I want to touch on something before you all declare what you're doing. In this game, let's talk about combat or conflict, fighting. So, if you're fighting people, you can fight people, you can punch, etc. If you're fighting monsters, you're not fighting monsters. Basically, you're running from monsters, you're hiding from monsters, you're trying to perform some ritual to deter them. If you sit and kind of stand and fight with a monster, like that's just not a functional concept, right? Or at least you can sacrifice yourself, but you know that fighting a monster would be particularly dangerous. Now, I would say this is, despite the fact that it is a normal forest creature, this sort of mutation that it seems to have undergone probably puts it into the realm of monsters. So, Basso, what were you thinking?
Oh, I was going to immediately start running and pretty much just causing like, I guess, rough terrain for it to chase us behind.
Okay, so you're running and you're breaking branches and throwing down bushes. Perfect. You also notice that it broke from behind, and so it's kind of chasing after you. And as you run, you're running deeper and deeper into the forest. What are the rest of you doing?
Nehen, I know that we're not actually really able to fight it, but I think what he would do is try to get the thing with his hunting crossbow.
Okay.
Regardless, just because that seems like the reaction that this guy who doesn't really understand the supernatural would have.
I'm fine with that. I think we're gonna make this a roll. You probably have a skill, I would imagine, that would apply to this. It's a crossbow
probably
hunter.
falls under hunting.
Yeah, I think you're good. Definitely dangerous. So you're
profoundly.
Yeah. I'll say if you want a devil's bargain, the complication, succeed or fail, is that you haven't perhaps taken as good a care of your crossbow in the strange, sort of musty, damp,
Oh no. I'm going to have to
honey-filled.
say no to that one because Nehen takes excellent care of his tools.
Okay, you
They
decline
may
the
be
devil's
worn
bargain.
they may be worn and old, but they are very well taken care of.
Okay, so then 1d6 for your light and 1d6 for your dark.
Okay. Well, I rolled a 6 on my dark.
Oh.
So you fire, and despite
Wah.
your crossbow being in perfect condition, your skills perhaps are what have betrayed you here as you fire wide and the quarrel buries,
No.
the bolt buries into something behind it.
That is a 6.
On your,
On
I'm
your
sorry,
dark.
on your dark die, that's right.
Yeah.
It buries
Yeah.
into it. I'm going to say it's going to hit it, but it's going to hit it in the flank. So, and it lunges forward. You see a burst of bees erupt from the side of the wolf, but it seems undeterred as it continues to travel, and it leaps out at you with kind of its dying kind of leap, and it just takes you to the ground. All of you look and you turn and you see Nehen behind you is just sort of covered in what looks like the carcass of some kind of creature, this wolf, and this massive dark swarm around him. Doesn't look like the wolf is moving, but the bees are. What are the rest of you doing?
And there's a ruin that comes with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna add that in a minute. I want to see what you guys are doing. Basso's already tried to run away from this thing. Mahara and Sarah, what are you guys doing?
I was already hiding, so she's gonna double down on that and
Okay.
maybe like scramble amongst like some mud and start just like maybe find like a little like knoll in a tree and climb in under that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're fine. Sarah, what are you doing? As you see, like Nehen got a shot up, but this thing leapt at like the last second and just bowled him over. What do you do?
So what Sarah wants to do is basically try to kind of lunge at Negan to kind of move him off to the side, kind of out of harm's way, essentially.
Oh, he's coated in bees already.
Hmm. He is literally like this big wolf just leapt, knocked him over, and fell on top of him, and now there's this dark cloud of bees around him.
Then more of a pull. Then like I'm trying to get him out of harm's way.
Okay. Dangerous, because I think there's the danger of the swarm turning his attention to you as you step closer. And as you go to reach, you feel like the pulsing of that wound on your arm as well. I'm going to say the devil's bargain. The wound is going to explode and something is going to emerge from it. So if you would like an extra light die, that's what's going to happen.
I'll take that.
Okay, so 2 light die, 1 dark die. Well, you have a bodyguard talent or bodyguard skill, so I think that's
I
your
have
skill.
protection.
Yeah, so 3 total d6s. The first one will be your dark die.
Okay. And there's something else that I also want to do while I'm
Okay.
doing this to kind of play out my.
Okay, do the roll, and then we'll narrate the events that transpire. Okay. Dark die looks good, so you don't take any extra ruin. 5 is a success with complication.
Mm-hmm.
So you reach like bravely you reach your hand down into this swarming mass of kind of black and yellow cloud, and you reach and you feel probably like a strap or maybe a shoulder pad or something that you know is Nehen. This isn't the wolf. This isn't the grimy like matted fur of this wolf, and you feel it and you just yank, and as you do, the arm erupts and bursts, and you see this whole huge chunk of bees just pour on out, and you feel your arm just begin to almost like hollow out and hollow to the point where your arm goes completely numb, and your arm, the condition like that, or the complication is that your arm is like just suddenly not working, and you reach down and with the other one you pull. What was the other bits that you wanted to add to this?
So one of the things that I wanted to do is because like I want to help the forest, but I want to do it slyly. So actually, should I just roll the dice and see what the outcome is, and then I'll see what I say out loud? Because isn't
Yeah,
something
go ahead.
depending on how well I roll. Okay.
Well, that's interesting because there is such a thing in the game called contest rolls, and 2 or more players are acting against each other's. So what we could potentially do is maybe have like whatever no, because then that kind of goes against the nature of the reduction
Trying to find
roll.
where it is reduction roll. So I rolled a light die, and I
Mhm.
rolled a 4, which is less than my ruin.
So it's
it
less than
goes
your current ruin.
unnoticed.
So he doesn't see this,
Okay.
and you
So
can
what
remove
he
1
doesn't
ruin.
see is that I just snatched his little inventive anti-insect little thingy.
Oh dang! And I was trying to make
Okay.
some for everyone.
Okay. So you snatch it.
Yeah.
Pull it into your hands. You pull, and you can feel the arm on your hand or on your shoulder, and then it like releases, and you feel it again, and suddenly the wolf's out from under you, or you're out from under it. But the condition that you're going to end up taking, because you did have a 6 on your dark die, I'm thinking, you tell me if this is okay with you, between the fall of this like large wolf on your body, just kind of knocking you over, and probably like 100 little stings. Maybe you're starting to feel maybe almost like some constricted airways a little bit, and maybe some like tightening and some swelling in the joints, almost like an allergic reaction is beginning to form. How's that feel? How's that for you?
So apparently that triggers my anxiety nastily.
We can do something else. We can move. We'll do something else.
Long story short, I'm incredibly allergic to pot smoke, and I've had this experience very much in real life.
All right, let's do something else then. Let's say we could do something small and simple, and just maybe you broke an ankle. Like you just fell strangely as the wolf. It wasn't so much the bees as it was the weight of the wolf falling on you as you're pulled out. You feel an ankle break.
What if it broke my crossbow? The wolf falling on it. Like this important tool central to his profession.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Because I was sitting there, it's like, that would be like the biggest, best thing to muck with would be his well-maintained, very dear crossbow, because this would now, like, this would bother him. He's been using this thing since,
Okay. I'm going to double,
what if it broke your, like, guide stick? So then it, like, would actually, like, affect your ability to move?
So the thing I want to drive home first. Conditions are more physical and mental, like, attrition. Right? It's the idea if there's something physical, that's is why I was going for like a broken ankle.
Yeah.
Equipment is something more like a complication. So I'm looking for more, what's the physical or mental attrition that you're breaking your crossbow?
I had an idea. Because this crossbow, this is his, because it was the tool that let him feel in control during the rebellion. It's essentially the equivalent of his comfort blanket when he's having the flashbacks that he already is.
Okay. Yeah, as long as you can justify it with that, and now he's even further kind of towards like a moment of unraveling. I think that's fine with me. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Which means that he's liable to start doing incredibly risky, dangerous stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Because his safety blanket is gone.
Whoops, sorry about that.
What does it say about a person when their safety blanket is their crossbow?
So, Basso, you ran. And you ran. And you ran. And you realized no one was following you. And then suddenly you look and you see up ahead, you see this tree that's got this awkward, like, hexagon-shaped tiling on it. Like this waxiness to it. And you start to wonder if it's even a tree at a certain point, because you're looking for signs of like branches and vegetation, and you're not seeing it. But nonetheless, there's something in the shape of a trunk. And you can see where the trunk reaches the ground, you see there is a human figure that is laying there on the ground, kind of embedded against whatever this waxy tiling is.
But throw something at it, see if it's...
You see it suddenly kind of shift slightly and move. It has that mesh mask of a beekeeper over its face.
I'll go up to him and see if I can help him a little.
Water, please.
Offer him
water.
Flask.
As you kind of lean down to hand the flask, like their arms trying to reach, and it's kind of stuck. It's like you hear it peeling away. You hear a hum emanating from its chest, like coming from its chest.
And run.
You snatch its hat and you run. Okay, you just snatch. I'm going to say, let's do a roll to see if you keep your water skin.
Sure.
No danger, because it's not like there's no danger in terms of him like grabbing you and harming you. So no dark die, but I'll say, what skills do you have?
Dexterity, spontaneity, and stealth.
Roll dexterity to see, and if you succeed with a 6, then you get the hat, you get the water skin, you get everything. Okay.
No, I got a 2.
As you reach down to snatch the hat, you grab it and you hear the buzzing and something begins to sort of move underneath this semi-translucent air, as if there's something moving and trying to burst free. You snatch the hat and you run and eventually you stumble into the bush where Mahara has been hiding, and you look down and you have torn in half the beekeeper hat, the other half having stuck and adhered to the head from the waxiness of the bee. And you also notice you've taken a healthy chunk of his scalp along with you.
Oh dear.
I'm gonna chuck that Mahira has. Oh god.
And like you'll watch as like Mahara takes it and like, I could use a scalp, and I just tuck it in my pack.
Okay.
I'm surprisingly not disgusted by it.
Okay. As you're tucking it away, this shadow suddenly passes over it, like almost like an eclipse. As all light in the forest just quickly diminishes around you. Mahara, when you look up, you can see that there is a massive swarm. Massive overhead that's blotting out the sun. When it comes, the light, when it comes back, you look up and you're standing, you're hiding in a bush beneath a tree that has this kind of yellow arrow kind of drawn or carved and pointing back the way you came. And when you kind of track it, you look back and you can see there's Nehen and Sarah kind of limping, wiping themselves off. Sarah kind of favoring her arm a bit, maybe Nehen kind of like staring at his broken crossbow as the four of you.
His broken crossbow, and he's like muttering to himself now. Doomed, proud and doomed. No, not again. No. Not again. No.
Sarah will say, "We're not doomed. We saw a moose. I released a crow. Things are tough, but we will prevail."
Released. You performed black magic. We're doomed. We have to leave.
Well, if you want to give up your share of the fortune, then I suppose you can go right ahead, but it behooves you to stay with the group and move forward.
Tyrolis. The dead of Tyrolis. The dead of Tyrolis.
And
Just
while
letting
this is
Nehen
happening,
babbles himself. I just like, wonder what happened to that wolf.
Mahara just kind of like, again, tugs on like Basso's shirt, like, what the hell is happening? And like she doesn't really say anything, but she just looks at Nehen and then at Basso, and she looks worried.
Basso, as she kind of tugs and motions off in the direction of where Nehen is, she kind of leans forward a little bit, and you can see tucked between her back and her backpack, there's your sword, and you can see the pommel, the golden pommel, the ruby eyes, the symbol of your knight who you served, Knight
I just
Joan. Yeah.
Instinctively grab it.
Mahara, you feel like a tug against your back, and you realize Basso is trying to pull the sword from you.
I'm gonna contest it.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah, we haven't done one of these yet. Okay, so contested roll. So take one light die if you have a skill that applies here. So Basso, do you think you have a skill that applies to just grabbing this?
Either dex or spontaneity.
Yeah, I think either of those would apply. So you take one for that. Mahara, would you have one that you think would apply here?
I'd say maybe like trickery, like I didn't make it easy to remove from my person.
I love it. Yeah, it's all tied up and not perfect. So you both take 1 for your skill. Take 1 light die for each ruin you have. How much ruin do you have, Basso?
A 4.
I have 3.
Okay. So, Basso, you have 5 versus Mahara, who has 4 total die so far.
Mm-hmm.
Take 1 dark die if the contest is inherently dangerous. So, what's at stake here? Do we think that if Basso wins, he gets the sword? What's at, this is kind of up to you all, to the two of you to decide. Like, what's at stake in terms of this contest?
It just seems like
I
whoever
don't-
has the sword now, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I think if he gets it away from me, he'll have it, and it will build resentment between us, like me towards him especially, because he's taking it away from my treasure trove. But I don't think I would immediately try and retaliate.
Okay. I'm tempted to say it's inherently dangerous because you're fighting over a sword. You know what I mean? It's,
Okay.
You know,
The
Yeah.
object itself is a bit dangerous.
right.
Yeah.
Like if this was
A
like a
sharp,
guitar.
pointy thing.
Yeah, it's a sharp pointy thing. Like this was a guitar, you're probably okay.
Yeah.
I mean, playing tug of
like-
war with a guitar is still a bad idea for one's personal safety.
Yeah.
But a tug of war with a
But
sword
you,
is a.
you get my point though, I think.
Yeah.
I think the point is still made. Okay, and then it's so we're gonna say a dark die. So then the last thing is like this is a push your luck thing. If you want to risk more dark die to increase your pool of die, you can risk more dark die now. However, every dark die you roll on this contest that is a 1 results in a ruin. So right now, I believe Basso has
1 dark
5
and
light
5.
die and 1 dark die, and Mahara has 4 light die and 1 dark die. So do
Mhm.
either of you want to risk additional dark die?
No.
Okay, you're good where you're at?
Yeah, I'm
Basso?
not there.
Okay. Go ahead and roll, and remember the first die will be your dark die. Oh no. Basso?
Oh god.
Okay. So,
Oh my gosh, the ones. Oh,
but
only
on the
one.
good side, it's none of the dark die.
Hmm.
So neither of you take ruin because your dark die, both of them came up a 3 and a 5.
Mm-hmm.
Mahara ends up winning the contest because what we do is we look at whoever has more 6s, and then if there's a tie, in this case there is because neither of you have 6s, we then look at whoever has more 5s. Mahara has 2, Basso has 0. And so as you reach and pull at this, Basso, how does this play out? You two figure it out. How does this play out? Because Mahara ends up keeping the sword. So play it out. What happens?
I imagine Mahara just kind of like quickly gets one arm out of the backpack and twists it and uses it to yank it away from him. So I'm holding it to my chest now with my pack as a
And my arm's tangled up inside as well.
yeah.
Okay.
And it kind of just throws him to the ground.
I am pretty much her size, so yeah.
Yeah, you guys are both the small
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy. The top 2 of the row are small. The bottom 2 are big and tough. You guys made it easy on me. Thank you. Okay. You guys push forward. Buzzing, lingering, humming here and there. Hours pass. You're not exactly sure how many. You probably aren't as close and clumped up as you were previously. Maybe Mahara and Basso are kind of keeping their distance from one another now. Maybe Nehen is kind of mumbling off to the side, still doing his job, but none of you maybe feel too comfortable with the humming and the mumbling that's coming from him. Sarah, it's you that notices up ahead. You see comb structures, like honeycomb structures, engulfing trees, all the way up to their peaks, forming this immense and irregular dome. And when you look, you see it's surrounded by activity. Those fist-sized bees swarming about, smaller bees moving as well. You've reached the 6th form heart. You know this has to be the immensity of this dome. This has to be what the mother of millions is. And you all are fortunate because you look in the side, there is this large gouge in the side of the structure that is probably left by some kind of large creature, like a bear has pushed through it looking for honey or something. It's wide enough to probably fit one treasure hunter at a time. It's not like a 2x2 thing. Somebody has to go first. Nehen, did you have something?
Was it the moose?
Maybe. You don't
The
see
moose
any
says-
signs of the
No-
moose.
No signs of the no. Is there like a neat little antler imprint on the way out? A flying squirrel stuck to it.
No flying squirrel here.
All right.
You all see this from a distance, and you all know that, like, there's only one queen. Someone gets to go in first. Maybe you want to go in first because you want to get to the treasure. Maybe you don't want to go in first because you don't want to be the one who gets attacked by what might lay in wait inside. But who goes in first? Who decides who gets to go in first?
I'll pressure Mahara to go in. Be like, well, you've kept this giant sword. Why don't you go first?
Well
And
played.
Mahara will just look at Nehen and be like, shouldn't our guide us through the tunnels?
Nehen is and this is just like right past Nehen. You see, here's a thing. He's unraveling. The only reason that he hasn't gone running screaming out of this forest is because of his obsession with, and I basically just come up with this, with acquiring the mother of millions to use the swarm as a weapon against the tyrant of Tyrolus.
That's brilliant.
Jeff, I didn't hear you.
I said that's brilliant. I like that
So
adaptation.
he's obsessed now. The only thing keeping him going is this obsession. And he will be damned if he can't do this. He's lost he's lost his key clinging to sanity thing. And now the only thing he has left are the dead.
So you do go in first. then.
So he does go in first because he is no longer concerned with his personal safety.
Sarah, are you okay with that?
Who are you asking that?
Sarah.
Yeah, I would say yes, because if like her goal, like if she's still trying to let the forest win, I think having someone else go face the danger first fits with that at the moment.
Okay. Do you go in second?
Yes.
Who goes in third?
Mahara does not want Basso behind her.
Might wanna
Basso.
follow Mahara in.
You what?
So you,
I do what she doesn't want.
okay. You wait. So the two of you stalemate as you watch Nehen and Sarah plunge in through the tear in the side of this thing. And the two of you are having a stare down.
No, you go first. No, you go first. No, you
Sarah,
go first.
Nehen are not there. They're inside. There's this muted humming in here. They can't hear anything that happens out here.
Mahara will try and strike a deal with Basso and be like, how about I need the revenue we could get from constantly selling the jelly to fund my war. And you kind of watch as her age actually kind of starts to show on her face a little bit. And she looks older than she does, even though she still sounds young. And she promises, I'll give you the sword if you'll help me. If just 50-50. I don't want just 25.
And I'll respond with, I don't care about your war chest. I don't care about your honey. Just give me the sword. I'm going to strangle him like they strangled my knight.
Basso, you notice as the two of you are standing right next to this tear, you look over your shoulder and you see what looks like a knight. It looks like it's got those kind of an antlered sigil, just kind of almost glued against this tree in some way. It's just sort of, it's got the same coloring and tabard as Knight Joanna. It can't possibly be him, but as you're watching, you see its head just sort of slowly turn and tear against this wax, and it's a good 30-40 yards, and you're just kind of watching this. An arm sort of folds and breaks free, and you see a motion right across the throat that Mahera doesn't notice as you're having this conversation. Mahera, you look on the other side, and you can see on the other side of Basso, you see a tree in the distance, 30 yards or so. You see a woman. You look at the face, and you swear it's your mother. She's dressed in the same colored dress that you have a small piece of cloth torn from, the exact same color, the exact same pattern. And although her face is waxy and covered with some kind of yellowish residue, you see it trying to mouth horrible words at you, like it's warning you. Both of you, I need you to go ahead and roll a ruin roll for these visuals. And this is, you're looking for 1d6. If the result is higher than your current ruin, you mark one ruin and you take a condition.
It's not. I met.
I am
Okay.
under.
Okay, so you both are okay. No extra, but you see this happen. Both of you has a vision of something. One trying to egg you towards a moment of violence. One trying to warn you about the potential for violence. What do you two do?
With that warning, Mahara's gonna dart into the tunnel and try and scramble and get closer to Sarah.
Bazo, what do you do?
I follow her as intended.
Okay, you dive in after. Sarah and Nehen, you've been pushing your way through, and it's tight. It's just a very kind of almost claustrophobic feel to it. The walls, however, are yielding, meaning they push. If you press against it, you can feel it give. It doesn't collapse, but you can feel sort of the texture begin to almost wrap itself around the sides of your fingers if you push into it. Every now and then you hear a sound. There's this constant buzz, but then you hear almost what sounds like a voice muffled through the walls. You hear a baby cry. You turn and you look back the way you came, and you see that the path that you had stumbled through and pushed through has like stitched itself back together, like this sort of self-healing property, and you don't see Mahera or Basso at all. This
Many
baby.
ways in. Only one way out. Many ways in. Only one way out.
Keep looking for those ways in and keep continuing forward.
Go, we go. Yes. Yes, forward.
Sarah, what are you thinking about Nehen right now? You're separated now. You don't see Mahera. You don't see Basso. Nehen's just mumbling. He's got a crazed look in his eyes, similar to the one that John has. Do you?
I'm
Like-
good at imitating that.
Does Sarah
Thank you.
Sarah plunge forward, like businesslike in the way you just described, or is like there's something else going through her head right now?
She is seeing that if there is some sort of danger, that it's better to have someone else to kind of take its focus.
Do you at all think that Nehen might be the danger? I mean, after all, only one of you can have the queen.
Sarah is confident in her skills that if it got down, like we're not there yet. Like if it got down to like we're there, then she could take him out. But at this
Mechanically,
point-
we are there. We are in the you're
Oh.
inside the heart. Like this is it. Like you're in
Oh,
the
okay.
heart. You're literally looking. Like I said, you arrived at the area. This is it. There's only one person. And if you want to get out, I mean, you have to find a way out now. And is he going to let you? I'm just wondering. Do what you want. Playing it up a bit.
I I I think I want to kick that can just slightly down the road a little bit. I'm kind of pushing him in front of me, kind of as we go.
Have the psychotic, traumatized guy who's liable to be in a violent outburst pointed at the thing you want the violent outburst to be the subject of.
There you go.
Okay. As you push forward, wax begins to drip from above Sarah, and you realize it's dripping onto his pack,
Mm-hmm.
and then suddenly a glob of it falls down onto your face, into your eyes, over your ears, and you suddenly have as you're wiping it away, you realize you have lost any clear vision in front of you. You don't hear the crying baby muffled to the walls, as everything's even more muffled as your hearing begins to go at this point too, and you're just wiping, and you no longer hear the humming and the insanity of Nehen at this point.
No, not another, not another. Nehen becomes aware he is in the whole obsessive thing, probably not going to want to let another one of what he now perceives as part of his rebellion die kind of thing. But
Okay.
I don't know if he's able to be aware of this.
Oh no, yeah. If you want, you feel something splatting down. You turn around, and you can see Sarah is kind of covered, like eyes, ears, head, and just like this yellow goo.
He's like, no, no, no. And he's like trying to clear it away from her as best as he can.
Okay. Sarah, you feel hands on you at this point. Like rough hands just sort of like peeling away at your eyes. We'll come back to that in a second.
Okay.
Mahara, Basso. Mahara, you're running full sprint, and it's not 10, 12 feet into this comb dome structure that you suddenly can't sprint anymore, because there's the cleanness of these tendrils and fibers from the honeycomb are stretching out from the walls and sort of keeping you from kind of getting free and resting free. You hear like the huffing of Basso, who's behind you at this point, I believe. The very thing that you didn't want.
Mm-hmm.
Basso, you can see the swords just back and forth right in front of you as she's like pushing and pushing. And both of you see no sign of Sarah or Nehen.
Yeah, I'm pretty much close behind, battling, because I have to keep talking, just like, give me the sword, give me the sword. And just keep trying to go after it.
Mahara, what are you doing?
So she's gonna be like pressing against the walls. Do I notice that it's kind of has some give?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, everything I described to Sarah and Nehen, same thing for you all. Like, you can feel the walls themselves are kind of, there's give to it.
She's gonna pull out the sword and she's gonna try and cut through the wall.
Okay. Let's go ahead and do a roll. Do you have a skill that you think would apply to swordsmanship?
No, because she's just trying to hide. She's trying to make a hiding spot.
To
but
get
I
away
don't
from
know if
Basso?
that would- Yeah.
Okay. Hiding is one thing. Using a sword to
Is
cut
different,
through
yeah.
something is different.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. Does that sound reasonable to everybody else?
No, I agree.
Okay. All right. Devil's bargain. Okay. Devil's bargain is if you cut and find a height. If you cut through, regardless of what happens, something's going to be on the other side. And at this point, you're fairly confident that it might be something dangerous to you. Whether or not that danger goes towards Bazo or you is a different story, of course.
I mean, I'll have to take it because I don't have any
I
white die.
You don't have to. You can just
I-
roll the dark die.
I also have a thought for one. Is
Yeah,
that
go for it.
she'd have to she'd have to lose the sword to get into the hidey hole. Like she wouldn't be
Oh,
able
like
to
it
make
gets
it
stuck in the
big
wall.
enough with either it gets stuck in the wall or
Yeah.
she wouldn't be able to make it big enough to take it with her because she is a tiny thing and this is like, a large, basically heavy lever.
Yeah. I'll take that. I would take either of those, whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to
Okay.
pick one of those bargains, it's fine.
I'll
Either
lose
way,
the
though, you're
sword.
rolling a dark die, but
Yeah.
like it's up to you whether you want to have a light die now from the devil's bargain.
I'll take the devil's bargain where I lose the sword to get the white die.
Okay, so
So
two
two
2d6. First one will be your dark. Second one will be your light.
1 and a 1.
Oh my
I
god.
don't know what that means.
So first it means you fail
Yep.
at cutting and finding a hiding space.
hmm
Second, it means you take a ruin condition.
Okay.
And you lose the sword.
Oh, that I was already.
Yeah.
Ready
What are you
for
at in
that.
terms of
That's on
ruin?
top
What are you
of
at?
all that.
Is this 5
this
for you?
would be my 4th.
Is it gonna be only your 4th? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would have thought the demonologist has the least ruin of everyone in the party.
Yeah.
I have 5. I just decided not to make a roll because Nehen is obsessed with like his comrades.
Okay. Okay. I think the condition. Let's see. Do you have thoughts, Ashley, on what you want here for this? I'm thinking.
So I'm trying to go through a wall. What about claustrophobia?
Okay. Yeah.
Like
I like that.
suddenly
the like the
it's
the close.
unbearable. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds good. Okay.
Ooh.
Not only that, but it feels like the walls are pulsing and getting closer and smaller on you.
Yeah. Like it's just shrinking in.
Bazo, you step forward and you see Mahara try and horribly fail at hacking through the wall, and she stumbles down in a way, and the sword gets lodged and caught in the wall of this comb. What do you do?
I'm gonna lunge for the sword.
Yeah, you reach out, you grab it, and you see Mahara just laying there on the ground, kind of clinging to something, cloth maybe, and she's just there, like kind of almost kind of screaming at the base of this wall that's just slowly wrapping itself around her.
She's just crying for her mom at this point.
Bazo, what do you do?
First, I'll do a little victory. I've got you, Johan. Pretty much just like pretending the sword is Johan himself. Like, I got you. And then I'll go ahead and offer my sword to her to hold on to, see if I can pull her out.
You're going to offer it out to help her?
Yeah.
Mahara, you see the sword is lowered down in your direction. Almost maybe to help you, or is he going to stab you with it?
I think she's still scared of Basso at this point, and
Okay.
she's gonna try and dig deeper, even like try and push past her claustrophobia, like to get through this wall or whatever she's in.
You want to just try to burrow into the wall at this point.
Like to
Now
get-
I think, yeah, let's roll, and now you can apply your hidden skill
Okay.
with that, because now you're just trying to like dig underneath it.
yeah.
So we'll say that. I'll say, I mean, it's inherently dangerous because you don't know where you're going in here. So I think it's just there's inherent danger to it. I'll say if you want a devil's bargain, if anyone has one to throw out, you can go ahead and do it. my devil's bargain was that you're going to lose your mom's cloth.
I already did.
Oh, you already did? I thought you.
Yeah,
I, thought you
I
still
lost
had
that in the water.
Yeah, when I lost the 10.
Oh, my
50
bad.
feet of rope.
I didn't realize you had lost that. My bad. Okay, you're going to then. Okay. You're gonna find a hiding spot, but the hiding spot is gonna be like this. You're gonna pierce a pocket in the wall, and like you're gonna be able to hide in it, but like this steaming hot honey is gonna coat you, and you're gonna feel like this scalding burn that is going to trigger memories
Okay.
of your mother getting killed for spilling tea onto Lord Halfier.
Okay.
All right, go ahead and roll.
I have a thought for another devil's bargain if you're interested.
Sure.
Go for it.
You could possibly manage to work your way through a pocket in the wall and fall down in front of the extremely jumpy guy with a broken crossbow in one hand and a frickin' axe in the other.
I'm gonna wave that one off.
Yeah, I
now.
don't want that one.
I want to keep separation. Yeah.
Okay, keep the separation. Alrighty.
Yeah.
I was going like, oh, he's probably going to swing.
I'll bypass the devil's bargain.
Okay.
So I'm just
So
gonna
two
do the two.
d6s. Yeah. Success. You managed to get inside. And Basso, as you're holding the sword out to her, you see her just scramble and like dig like some kind of like wild animal trying to burrow into the ground, and she just disappears into this kind of pulsing orange yellow wall, and you're left alone now. Back to Nehen and Sarah. Sarah, you've got hands just sort of roughly moving around where your eyes and your ears are covered in goo. What do you do?
So this question is actually for Nehen. Do I hear anything?
No, you don't. Your ears are covered in wax.
Oh,
You've
that's right.
lost the ability to hear.
If I don't hear that this is Nehen, then I'm gonna be swinging.
Okay. Let's do this as contested to see if you're able to swing. So, go ahead and you have an occupation skill that applies, so take one light die for that. How much ruin do you have, Sarah?
4.
Okay, so that's 5 total light die for you. Nehen, do you think you have a skill that applies to like physical defense against a person?
Either hunting or in the context of his background, rebellion.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, I think both apply.
Yeah,
I actually really like rebellion, using it sort of like in an abstract way there.
because
how much-
he's done that kind of like he's done tunnel fighting before.
Perfect.
Yeah.
How much ruin do you have?
5.
Okay, so you have 6 light die versus Sarah's 5 light die. I would say this contest is dangerous, so both of you are going to take a dark die for that. And then, do either of you want to risk more dark die on the roll?
Sure, I'll do one just to get it even.
Okay.
Okay.
So both of
All right.
you, I believe, are rolling 6d6.
I would be
76.
76.
Sorry. Both of you are
for
rolling
both of us.
76. Sarah, the first 2 die are your dark die. Nehen, the first one is your dark die.
Oh boy.
Every dark die that shows a 1 is a ruin. Neither of you have gotten that. In terms of number of 6s, it looks like Nehen has more.
Yep.
So
He has 2 6s. Phew, that was a good roll.
That's a very good roll.
Yeah.
So Nehen, she lunges out at you, and you are going to be successful at defending yourself. But why don't you narrate exactly how you want this defense to happen? Like, what effect do you want to kind of glean from this?
As he's doing, and she drinks this the wild blind swipe. He's an old tunnel fighter. He fought in the undercroft of the castle where the rebellion where things really turned against the rebellion. But he survived. So as this happens, he basically lets this wild swipe go past him as he puts himself behind Sarah. kind of this. I'm this like the, you're literally redirecting the person's momentum
Mhm.
because he doesn't want to hurt his fellow soldier, if you will, or his fellow comrade in arms.
Sure. And I'm blind and deaf, essentially at this moment. So I'm just reaching out in one direction.
Okay.
And he's going to, with these rough hands, just like from behind, hold that, were you lashing out with like a two-handed strike, or what? How's your grip on this?
I would say just probably both of my hands just sort of forward. Like I don't necessarily have a
Like,
weapon.
oh,
other than
no
my
weapon?
hands. Yeah.
And so he's just like from behind is like this holding them, these rough woodsman's hands.
So at the end of this, do I still have goo on my eyes and ears?
At the end of this, you get your sight back. It's a little blurry and sticky. You feel like warm, and your face is sort of beading with sweat mixing with that texture. But yeah, you're able to see and muffly hear. You still see no signs of Mehera or Basho. But you do hear, both of you, this very kind of chaotic buzzing from up ahead as you push forward, kind of almost slipping between like this sort of tight corridor, and you see this hexagonal expansion, this semi-empty space with these waxy pillars that form here and there, these enormous dog or hound size bees that seem to be sort of patrolling around like soldiers around what looks like a sunken, not room, but sort of recess up ahead where a fairly large, massive creature that seems to be bathing in some sticky, viscous yellow fluid. These large, almost wing-like, but bent, and you're not sure if they're even functional, stinger that seems larger than the largest two-handed sword you've ever seen, glistening with that waxy orange. There's the only light in here is that which you've brought. If either of you, I presume, light up a torch or a lantern.
He'd still have his torch, and
That's
while
fine.
I imagine the little smudge sticks produce a little bit of light, Nehen no longer has his.
You do not.
No.
At the sight of this, if you've got your torch and the room becomes a little bit more encapsulated in light, you see like almost like encased in resin along the interior walls. You see various degrees of desiccation of treasure hunters, your predecessors, your those who came before you. You see some that are adults in size, others that are small, diminutive, children perhaps. And both of you make a ruin roll. Roll a d6. If it's over your current ruin score, you take another ruin.
It is over, so I do.
And what does that put you at?
I am now at 5.
Okay. So let's say you once again hear the echoing laughter of little Lavinia. And you see from like 4 or 5 of these small little bodies that are encased in the wax on the walls. You see their heads just sort of shifting and moving, jaws not even in sync with the laughter, kind of moving kind of crookedly. And the entire room is just like echoing, almost to the point where you wish you had the wax around your ears again, because you can't hear anything but this child laughter. We're going to switch over. Mehera, you have been crawling through this kind of pasty, sickly wall, and you burst through. And you see in front of you this small room with some kind of light is barely glowing from something that seems to be embedded in the wall. Do you have do you pull out a torch or a lantern or something?
Not immediately. She'll watch and see if she can notice anything first.
Well, it's a very, very faint,
Oh,
very,
then
very
she
faint
will.
red.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look
Roll
at
for damage.
raiders.
Thank you very much for the raid. We are playing Trophy Dark tonight, a fantasy horror narrative game. Definitely appreciate it. We're nearing the end. We got a little time still. But thank you very much. Let's see, get the details for Trophy out there once more. We are playing through a incursion or adventure called a warm and pleasant hum. It's all about bees and sadness. So you pull out this torch and you look and you can see encased in this waxy wall is a beautiful scepter, kingly even, something lordly. You wonder where you've seen it before. You wonder if you've seen it before. What about it looks most familiar?
The gnarled wood that makes up the long portion of it, and then something looks like it's wrapped. Something that's more magical, like that's wrapped to it. It kind of looks like my mother's old cane.
Mm-hmm. You would probably know that there's some sort of magical quality to this, something that might enhance rituals that could help you in your assault on Lord Halfear. What could this potentially? How could you potentially use this as a weapon against him?
Maybe it could be like a conduit for my kindling power, so that it's not as harmful to me. Because normally when I use it, it burns me every time. But if I'm holding this, I can channel the power through that instead, so it doesn't burn me as much. And I could use that to raise his cities and stuff.
Okay. You see that on the ceiling above it, there's this blackness that you thought would dissipate, which is shadow from the torch. But instead, as you look, you can see that it is covered completely in these very small, very, very small black and yellow bees. And there's got to be thousands of them. What do you do?
I want to try and like stealthily move up to where the scepter is like encased and take the time to use my ritual to melt the encasing to get it and then get out.
Okay. Sounds like two things. So let's
Yeah.
do like a stealth skill test here. Like,
Okay.
so you have stuff that will apply.
Hiding,
think?
hopefully.
Perfect. So that's one. Definitely dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to say that Devil's Bargain, again, others can think of something if you come up with something. I think the Devil's Bargain is going to be that
I get stung.
I mean, if you fail, for sure you're going to get stung.
Well, yeah.
I'm trying to think of what's going to happen regardless. Okay.
Like drawing
Regardless of what happens. What's that?
Like drawing
Yeah.
attention, maybe?
I think regardless of what happens, you're going to draw the attention. Like the bees are going to become stirred.
Okay.
It's just a question of whether or not they kind of draw their attention to you. And that could potentially complicate your ritual. How about that? So we'll say that the Devil's Bargain is that You take an extra die, but it could potentially complicate your ritual.
I'm gonna try it with 2.
Okay, go for it.
Oh
Okay.
no.
Uh-oh.
So, 2 things are going to happen here.
Okay.
First of all, your dark die is the highest die because it's equal.
Yep.
So you
Mhm.
take a ruin for that. And I think the failure then is as you sneak and step forward, you're getting closer and closer, and you realize at the last second, before it's too late, that your foot is pressing down on something that gives, and you hear a snap. And you look down and you see the bonal skeletal hand just kind of collapse sort of into dust and fragments. And that seems to alert the bees, which now descend down on you. And you are now
God.
covered in bees.
Okay.
Basso, you've got your sword. You're all alone. What's going through your mind right now?
I'm looking for this jelly or this queen bee that we're supposed to collect.
Okay. You find another kind of tertiary path. You notice up ahead that the room, like the kind of opens up a little bit. And like, similar to what I've asked other people, do you have a torch out?
I don't, but I can.
Okay. It's very dark otherwise, like incredibly dark.
And I will light it up.
All right. You see in front of you a room open up. Hexagonal. Pillars of some kind of resin here and there. Massive, dog-sized bees just lingering around, swirling about this large depression in the center of the room where an even larger bee, the size of like a buffalo, with this stinger that looks like if you crossed your new sword with it, you're not sure whether your blade could resist. You see these kind of crooked, thin wings that there's no possible earthly way that those things could lift the size of this creature. And you see encased in resin around the exterior, the walls of this room, are the desiccated corpses of previous treasure hunters who have tried to claim. You see that this beast, this buffalo-sized bee, is just flailing around in this pool that you recognize now. That's royal jelly. You see a faint light on the opposite side of the room, and you think you can make out movement. Somebody else is here. What do you do?
I'm going to move carefully, so stealth up and wait
Okay.
and observe to see what that light is.
Okay. You want to get closer, you said?
Yeah,
All right. Do you have a skill that's good that helps you with stealth?
I do have stealth itself.
Well, look at that. This is inherently dangerous because there's, as I've mentioned, dog-sized bees and a buffalo-sized bee in here.
Mhm.
So there's a danger die. I think the complication is that you're going to attract the attention of one of these soldier dog-sized bees. Maybe not or this is the other option. You might attract the attention of whatever competitor has potentially arrived on the other side. So it's one of those two. You can either attract the attention of a bee or attract the attention of your competitors if you want an extra die.
Over the devil's bargain, then.
Or the devil's bargain. And you can refuse that. You can just go 2 die and be happy with that.
Yeah, I'll just go with the 2.
All right, roll for it.
I got a 1, but I want to try this reroll mechanic.
Yeah. So we haven't talked about that. We haven't talked about that at all. as my my earbuds are actually dying out on me. But yeah, we haven't really talked about it. Do you want to explain that while I switch out my earbuds really quick?
Yeah, so it looks like if I decide to do a reroll, I can add another dark die to it and pretty much just roll again.
And then go back
So you'd be rolling 3 dice.
Yeah, this time it'll be 2 dark die to the 1 light.
Yep, so there's more of a chance of the dark die
Ruin.
doing stuff.
How many ruin do you have?
I have 4 at the moment.
Oh, okay.
It's just I don't think you get the ruin until
Awesome.
you like take the roll. So how,
Yeah,
okay,
because you add a dark die and then re-roll and then go back through all the assessments again.
Yeah, if light die, but the light die has to be the highest. That's the one catch. If the light die is the highest and you want to reroll, you can add it, but your dark die is the highest, so you actually can't use the reroll here.
Oh, okay.
So that's the one caveat. Okay, sorry about that.
That's fine.
You fail, and one of these.
I succeed.
Oh, I'm sorry, you succeed.
Yeah.
You rolled a 4, and I keep doing that. I keep thinking that when the dark die is the highest, you fail, but it's no,
Yeah.
you succeed at it. There's just a complication. The complication is that 2 of these soldiers that are swarming about seem to have sensed your presence. You're not sure if it's you or if it's your torch, but 2 of them have broken off their kind of patrolling pattern around this queen in the middle towards where you're hiding now behind a pillar. And I'm going to say Sarah and Nehen on the other side of the room. You see that the pattern of these two of these 2 giant bees is also broken. So what do you all do?
Now is our chance. But how do we claim it?
So I have a ritual that I can do. Sugar, but I'm at 5 ruin.
We're both at 5 ruin.
We're at the end of the game, and I said at the very beginning, embrace the end, right? Like the philosophy of this game is like of like Trophy Dark is like it's like the lose mentality. Know that like tragedy is gonna befall, but like make the end of your character, be it death, loss to magic or whatever, make it fascinating, spectacular in some way.
Okay. So then what I'm going to do is I am going to try to launch myself onto one of these really big things. Because I have a ritual called numb in which I can reduce sensation in a creature. So I'm basically just going to kind of try to take one of these out a bit, like totally throw it out of whack. And it's just feeling numb.
Okay.
Hopefully there's something wonky to it.
That sounds good. Hang on a second. I gotta check my properties on my sound. My sound's all kind of wonky at the moment.
Yes, and she knows bad things are going to come from this.
Can one of you say something really quick? I just want to check my
No,
sound.
we've got a Lincoln Park in the chat.
Can you hear us, Jeff?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. I just want to make sure the stream could hear you because when my wireless earbuds went out. So, okay, there it goes. I was trying to get the music back, and the music was kind of kicking out. And I wanted to get like the combat music because this is it. This is the end. So you leap on this dog-sized thing. Is that right?
And now I have Lincoln Park in my head, so thanks, Derek, for that. But yes, I jump on top of it.
Okay, and this is a ritual that you're performing?
Yes, it's a ritual.
Okay, so describe what happens because this is putting you at 6 ruin.
It is. So I'm gonna do a little bit of almost like Mr. Miyagi like hand thing. So I'm kind of like rub my hands together, rub my hands together, rub my hands together. So then when I like jump on it, like somehow that then like makes it numb. That's my ritual.
Okay. Nehen, you watch as Sarah just leaps onto the back of one of these and it sinks down and kind of bounces off the ground as if the extra weight is obviously throwing its flying off. Immediately, other of these large soldiers begin to swarm on top of her. 3, 4, 5 are coming towards her, and you can see that she is just beginning. You're losing track of where she even is as these large creatures that are bobbing up and down in the air. 2 more, 3 more have disappeared from the other side, leaving a clear path towards this queen and towards the pool of royal jelly in front of you. What does Nehen do?
Damn, I'm trying to figure out whether his obsession with comrades and viewing them kind of as his dead people would take priority, or whether his obsession with unleashing the WMB.
Yes.
You were waiting for me to make that pun, weren't you, Melissa?
Just before you got there.
Okay. Yes, the W. You know what? I think I'm gonna go WMB for the pun.
Okay. You're going to charge at the queen?
He's gonna go to the queen. He wants to take the queen. He wants to figure. He doesn't really know what he's doing at this point.
Sure.
He's going to try to use his hunting knowledge of creatures to deal with this supernatural thing and try to convince it to do what he wants. He's gone nuts at this point. I expect to die.
I mean, you could, if you're a hunter, I presume you probably still have rope on you. You could try to, literally hog tie this thing and drag it out of the pool or something like that if you want.
I mean, yeah, provided that the stinger is stabbing and and isn't able to slash. Yeah.
Oh, we'll see with the roll. Well, this is definitely dangerous.
Oh, profoundly
yeah.
so.
And I think because the queen's involved, I think the GM just has discretion to add an extra danger die, and I think we're at that stage here. This is the big thing at the end.
And then, so I have a relevant skill.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Offer me a devil's bargain.
Devil's bargain. You get the extra die, but you take a sting from the queen. Doesn't kill you immediately, anyway.
He'd take that.
Okay.
If it gets him his, as long as he can avenge.
Sure.
As long as he can destroy the tyrant of Tiroli or Tyrolis. How are we saying it? Tiroli. We'll say Tiroli. We'll assume it's French.
Yeah. Okay.
As long as he can destroy that tyrant, he is fulfilled. He has achieved his goals. He has won.
Okay. 3 die, I think. 3d6.
No, you said you were adding an extra.
Oh, that's right. I was adding
die.
the extra one. 4d6. First 2 are going to be danger or dark. Excuse me.
Okay. Alrighty.
Extra danger.
He's probably going to
here.
die.
Yeah.
But he's going out with style.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
So that is his last ruin.
Okay, so you take 1 ruin, but you succeed. So you leap on into the pool with this thing. You wrap the rope around it. It stabs down at you with its stinger. You manage to dodge out of the way of it, and you realize as you get the rope wrapped around that you are face to face with this massive eye that's staring at you. And you see your reflection multiplied by 1,000. You see all of the soldiers that you need reflected in the eye of this massive queen. And you're waist deep in royal jelly. You've achieved whatever it is you achieved, and the queen is just staring at you. Come back. Basso, you're swiping as these 2 dog-sized soldiers are are kind of trying to sting at you. You see this commotion on the other side as the torchlight gets closer, and you realize it's Sarah. She leaps onto the back of one of these, torch falling to the ground, still giving off some light. 4, 5, 6 other dog-sized bees swarm around her. Seconds later, Nehen, just running right down the middle, leaping into the pool, wraps this massive rope around it, and now he just seems transfixed and staring at this massive queen bee. You hear a young girl's scream off to your left. but then it's not a young girl. It's an old woman's, but it's a young, and you see bursting through the almost paper thin wall, there is a body of maybe 5 feet tall. How tall were you, Mahara? As you
It's
come,
like 5 feet-ish, yeah.
you stumble in and you're just coated and covered in these minuscule bees. You feel these tiny little pricks everywhere, all over your skin. That's going to be a thing later, isn't it? And you're like wiping your eyes as best you can, swatting them down. You see Basso is fending off 2 or 3 of these massive bees with his sword. You see Nehen just staring face to face with this huge buffalo-sized queen bee. You see Sarah getting swarmed on the other side of the room. What does everybody do? And I want to know, this is it. This is like last action. What does everybody do?
So, I actually wanted to still be by the scepter.
We're going to say you snatch it just fine, no problem.
Okay.
You still we'll say that it's in your hand. I want to have a dramatic moment here. So let's say you snatch the scepter. It's in your hands. You have it in your hand as you're still just sort of batting and swarming these things away.
I want to say that my claustrophobia is starting to act up. And one of the things with Mahara is as she gets too scared or nervous or angry, her kindling just naturally starts to activate. And the scepter is pulling at my kindling and it's enhancing it and it's causing me to slowly, you guys watch as my skin starts to grotesquely bubble as it comes up from my feet, up my arms, and until it's running down my arms towards the scepter. And you see I'm covered in bees and you just watch as I start screaming as my hair starts to alight and catch on flame and as it erupts from my body and just torches this whole room.
So it's just a ritual you're trying to tap into at this point, right?
Yeah, I'm at 5 ruin.
Okay. And since you have the scepter that's that we said in the fiction, it's amplifying your power, I think then yeah, it could definitely cause this eruption in the room and burn everything. Okay. Basso, we started this by saying you see this girl, this form stumble in. You see the flames begin to flicker, like she was saying. I'm going to give you, since you're still sort of intact, what do you want to do?
You said what was it there?
You're still intact, meaning like you're not at
Oh.
6 ruin yet.
Right. I want to use this chance, pretty much this commotion, to go after what we came here for. This jelly is in the center. So
You just want to go and try and scoop up some jelly?
Yeah, I'm gonna like parry off these bees that are trying to swat at me, and then just scoop up some jelly.
Okay. I'm going to say because, okay, there's so much chaos in this room at this point. This is definitely dangerous. But because the queen seems to be distracted by Nehen, and he's they're face to face, and there's some sort of soul searching going on as they're staring each other deep into each other's eyes. I'm going to give you 1 danger die instead of 2, just because she's distracted. Devil's bargain, you lose the sword.
Be greedy and not take that.
Okay. 2d6, 1 dark, 1 light.
Music just died, Jeff.
It should loop around, I think.
Okay.
I have 5 on the light, it's greater than the 3 dark.
Okay. There is a complication, however. And since you didn't take the devil's bargain, I'm not gonna go ahead and give you the sword. You can still have. However, you're not gonna be completely out of the room as you try to duck and turn before the nuke happens.
Damn it. The WMD beats the WMB.
So that's the complication with the 5, is that you're going to be kind of engulfed in flames a bit.
All right.
Sarah, are you at you're at full 6 ruin? Nehen, are you at full 6 ruin?
Yeah.
Okay. Mahara, you burst into flames. And instantly, all of these small bugs around you just erupt. The flames shoot out in all directions. The honey almost like kind of melts a little bit. You can feel it sort of get charred and even greater liquidy as the combs, the physical structure of it begins to kind of sag. The pillars kind of fold in on itself. The roof begins to sag at this point, as both there's a kind of a cave-in that's occurring and fire is erupting. Basso, I'm going to give you... I want to do one test with you to see if you can get out of here with the fire on your tail and the roof collapsing. So you have Dex or something?
I do have Dex.
So Dex for skill, 1 for danger. And again, the devil's bargain is that you lose either the jelly or the sword. And you can pick which one.
I'm gonna be greedy again and not take it.
Okay, 2d6. Son of a bitch.
Got a 6.
You son of a bitch.
Let's go.
And you get out.
Fuck yeah!
You get out. All right.
One of us survived. Who saw this coming?
Let's then move to like an epilogue of sorts. As you look behind you, Basso, and you see the wax just collapse. The fire kind of push you out, and you just slash wildly with your sword until you push out into the forest, you think, that you just came from. So, what I think we're going to do to sort of close this down, I want to know, I'm not saying any of you died, the 3 of you that were inside. And I'm not even saying that Basso makes it back to civilization. This is for the 4 of you to each decide for your character. However, those of you who hit 6 ruin, somehow, and you get to decide how, you're lost. And how, so I want your description to be more like, how do you serve the forest and like the queen and the hive now? And how is your absence felt back home? And for Basso, who survived destruction, you're still carrying, because you've been stung, you've had the mark on your neck and various other things. You've been kind of marked, cursed by this situation. How have you brought that back with you? And so that's, I want you, like, in an epilogue, if you guys think about it this way, how does it end for your characters? None of you are dead unless you want to be. So who has an idea and wants to go first? Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Nehen, if you know, go for it.
Okay. This is tricky because I don't want to accidentally step on someone else.
Throw it out there.
So, in a twisted way, if the queen survives the immolation, Nehen could succeed at his goal, but in doing so, effectively, he has become a servant of the hive and and rather than seeing it used and then used to defeat the thing and then contained, never stops. And functionally could, I don't know, become the antagonist of a future one-shot.
You become almost like a human soldier of the queen.
A human soldier of the queen, a general directing her armies.
Rumors,
and also
urban legends of a man being swarmed by massive bees start haunting the humming woods. Sights of him, these dog-sized bees.
And perhaps her huntsmaster pursuing the marked one that escaped.
Oh.
Ooh.
Mahara or Sarah, you want to build on that at all? With the idea that maybe some of the soldiers have died, the queen might have been horribly harmed, but not or maybe a second queen is born elsewhere in the hive, something like that. What do we think for Mahera and Sarah?
I'm thinking for Sarah that because she did have the enliven ritual, and so that essentially sort of becomes her role, is sort of be healer, that when they're kind of taken out, that she is able to bring them back into the service.
Oh God, and this entire forest is just carpeted in new workers ready to rejoin the hive.
No matter how many are killed, more just seem to keep just
God, I think we just started an apocalypse.
Mahera, do you have an idea? I was going to float something to you, but if you have one, I want you to go with your gut.
No, if you want to float it, float it.
You are having this sort of uncontrollable moment. You had this some kind of king scepter.
Mm-hmm.
There's this queen here. Does Mahera somehow become the queen? Do you?
I was thinking the same thing. I was
Oh, that's
thinking
creepy.
there's a point to where as Mahera's burning, she continues to walk into the jelly pools and she turns it molten. And as she stands there, the queen melts. But as she melts, you watch as larva starts to crawl up my legs that has somehow gotten past the immolation, and I become sort of like a bee human hybrid as they burrow into my skin. And I get some mark on my forehead that marks me as the queen, some like fuzz or something that grows.
And we just picture like you in your own palace of wax and honey on a throne with, that's hovering above this massive pool of royal jelly. Sarah moving about, doing your bidding, raising up the sort of the fallen soldier bees, Nehen leading your armies, exacting
And,
your
like-
revenge against Lord Half-Year.
Yeah.
Here's the twisted part. Us three are all achieving our grander designs, if I'm not mistaken.
It's true.
Just in horrible, horrible fashion.
Horrific ways, yeah.
And then for the one who made it out, Basso, what's the future hold for you?
Pretty much I've become known as a squire that's made it out of the forest. And I've become known as a wandering squire of sorts, where it seems like the knights that I tend always seem to end up dead, but in a particular way. It's always wax that they end up as, like waxy beings or corpses. And that's pretty much, I'm just like a wandering squire that has knights. Yeah, that's pretty much us.
Okay, I like it. And all the while, you're like, you hear the buzzing, and whether or not like something is hunting you or getting closer and closer. Maybe that's why you have to wander and move to the next place, because the buzzing gets too loud. The queen's armies get too close because they're trying to lure you back into the hive at that point. Maybe it's Mahira wanting to put the group back together or get her revenge on you stealing the sword from her or something.
And sometimes it's because the queen's huntsmaster has grown too close.
Too close.
That's probably what has happened to at least one of the nights.
Absolutely.
So, with that, I think we end our tale.
Ooh.
And that is Trophy Dark.
That was so cool.
You guys like it?
Yeah.
That was
I really
I
like
really like it.
I like that when the way in which we lost, but our characters achieved
Yeah.
all of our objectives.
That kind of it's because it's tragedy, right? It's like the tragedy of it. You get what you
Yeah.
get what you want, but not the way you want it. You know, like there's something about that that's really
Basso hunting
tantalizing.
me down as I'm running. Fantastic. I loved it.
Mhm.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I liked getting to portray his Nehen's increasing like conflict of interest and also kind of losing it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there were so many. There was a lot of good moments, and like I really enjoyed some of the little bits and pieces and how like we stitched together a narrative from it, and how it becomes this like vengeance army. Like all of you had these little tiny drives that was feeding into now what is like this insectoid army that's just brilliant.
This WMB, the swarm that has been unleashed. Pat would be proud of us.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, I think that's it for us. If you want to, John, if you want to plug your that comic again, I'll drop a link.
Yes. My wonderful friend Terry Hale is running a comic, Data Chasers, over at datachasers.thecomicseries.com. It has been going for a long time. It is a 3D computer-generated, absolutely gorgeous comic. She updates weekly and has been going for years.
Wonderful.
Nice.
There is, we are currently on page 1756.
Oh, goodness.
Yep.
Drop the link in the chat. If you're watching this later on YouTube, check the notes. The link will be in there as well. You can go take a look at Data Chasers. Otherwise, the rest of us, we're Adventures in Lollygagging. Thank you for everybody who joined us tonight. Thank you for the raids. Thank you for the ideas thrown out. Thank you for bearing with us as we stumbled through a new system that really, really, really like. We'll be returning to this, I think, at some point. I don't know when. We have to find a place in the schedule for more of this. There's also like a trophy gold and like trophy. There's like different trophies. There's one that's going to be more like I think you can do more like a campaign style game from it where it's not just like one shots. So I'm really curious. I think it was on Kickstarter back in January, and I did like a late pledge on it. So I'm kind of curious what that other version will look like. So really like the narrative elements of it. We play other games here. We tend to stream on Mondays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Tomorrow we're doing Worlds Without Number, where we have a sci fantasy hex crawl. This coming Monday, we're going to be playing Alien RPG, Alien role-playing game from Free League. We have a Cinders of Heaven campaign that we've been running for a little while. We are freshly into our Marine chapter, having fun with that.
And you've already removed an arm.
Already removed an arm. It's a
One
thing.
arm down.
Other Mondays, opposite Mondays, we do Ultraviolet Grasslands, which we just started up this past week, so we alternate those weeks. And Fridays, normally we do Delta Green, but we got to do this wonderful new game this week. So thank you for everybody for playing. John, thanks for joining us. It was a pleasure to get you in a game.
Oh, it was so exciting. I have had so much fun tonight.
It's been great. It's been absolutely great. And yeah, that's it. We're gonna go ahead and raid one of our friends. Speaking of Alien, our friends at the Defenders of Cobalt are playing there. We're gonna go ahead and give them a raid. So if you want to hang tight, I'm gonna drop us on the end screen. Click the raid to come with us, and we'll catch you next time. So thanks everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Woo!